Stories number 1. Wife kicked my cousins and their friends out after they pranked her AITA for not stopping her. Yesterday my cousins showed up on my home with their friends unannounced. My 3 cousins and their 7 friends said that we all should spend first together. We all cooked together, got drunk and had more fun than ever before. I should have expected that they would April's Fool prank my wife, but I was being a dumbass. While I was drinking with other men, my wife suddenly showed up in front of me and grabbed me and asked me if I'm cheating on her. I was shocked and I told her that I never cheated and I would never cheat on her. My wife asked me for my phone and she locked herself in our bedroom and spent almost half an hour going through my phone, and when she came out she said she'll smack me if she ever finds out that I'm cheating on her and she'll show no mercy. Turns out the women pranked her and told her that I'm cheating on her as a prank. My wife is religious and getting married to her is in itself an achievement for me. All of my cousins and their friends explained to her that it was just a prank and I'm not cheating on her, but my wife was angry at them and told them to get out of our house, and she doesn't want to listen to their explanation anymore. After they all left, my wife told me that if I ever cheat on her she'll make sure I'll regret it. She said she didn't get married to me only to find me in bed with another woman. I told her that I'll never cheat on her and they were pranking you. She said she doesn't like it and doesn't want them anywhere near us. I told her that I know and they won't prank you like this ever again, and she already has access to my phone and knows my password, so she should calm down and not let the alcohol take control of her. But my cousins are telling me now that I shouldn't have let my wife kick them out and I should have instead explained to her that it was just a prank. I told them that it was a shitty-ass prank, and what exactly were they expecting? I told them that they are no longer allowed in my house, at least for some time. They are saying that we both are crazy and I am my wife's slave. Not really sure what they were expecting. They expect my wife to laugh. Who pranks like this even? I think there are harmless prank and this one is stupid. AITA. Comments. Commenter 1. 10 people show up to your house uninvited and unannounced to eat your food, drink your alcohol, and for the oh-so-funny prank of making their host think that her entire marriage is a lie. Your cousins and their friends are rude and shitty people. Commenter 2. Yeah, 10 people randomly show up on a Tuesday. How odd. And you just let them eat and get drunk? Whole story sounds crazy. Commenter 3. You named it, they're shitty people who really need to evaluate their sense of humor. This wasn't funny, it was cruel. It's what happens when you marry up from a family with low emotional intelligence to one who cares. You learn to push the shitty ones away or you lose what's really good in your life. At least OP has his wife's back. Too many of these stories are about the unsupportive husband asking if he's the AH because the wife is angry for being unsupported. Someone properly picking sides. Update. I tried everything I could to convince my wife to forgive my cousins and forget about it, but my wife didn't listen to me and still periodically checks my phone and keeps tabs on me, and I think that she thinks that I'm cheating even though I told her that I would never cheat on her, and even my cousins are trying to tell her that it was a prank. A shit one, but still a prank. I told my to calm down and to not mind what my cousins said and their prank, but my wife got angry and she said she didn't marry me only to find me with other women. My wife is super religious. Marrying her is in itself an achievement for me and she fought hard just to marry me, and I think I understand why she's so angry. I asked her what she wants me to do to calm her down. She said she doesn't like my cousins and she wants them all as far away as possible from us. I asked her if there's anything I can do to make peace between them all. She said in their religion they aren't allowed to even talk about cheating, and she's angry because my cousins are idiots and she will kill me by her own hands if I ever cheat on her after she went through so much just to marry me. My wife said she trusts me but she's hurt by the prank and she will handle it herself and I should stay away from my cousins and this overall situation. My wife is so pissed and I thought it would just be okay, but my wife doesn't want me to interfere. If it was something else my wife would listen to me no doubt, but my cousins and their friends hit the nest and even if I try to help them my wife won't let me. Comments. Commenter 1. Dude, seriously, you are still the AH. Side with your wife. Cut contact with them until they make a serious apology. You aren't helping your wife's insecurity or your case by taking their side and having a flippant attitude. Commenter 2. Oh, but he just wants her to calm down. This guy is an AH and a moron. Commenter 3. Yeah, I really failing to see how he is not more upset. My cousins tried to destroy my marriage. What a funny prank, hahaha, don't get it. Update. TLDR, my idiot cousins April's Fool pranked my wife about me cheating on her, and they went so hard on my wife that even if I try to defend them I am at risk of losing my wife. I'm really tired of my wife periodically checking my phone, and I think that my wife is suspicious of me, but at the same time I think I'm wrong for not kicking my cousins out and listening to my wife. The reason why I was so tolerant and forgiving because I love my cousins and deep down I thought they were just April's fooling my wife, and I thought my wife would get over it. I asked my wife what does she want me to do. She said she already told me. I asked her to make it clear to me once again without getting angry and I will do whatever she wants. My wife says that she's deeply hurt by what my cousins said and she doesn't want them anywhere near us anymore and I should stay away from them as far as I can from my cousins. I told her that I'm cutting my cousins off and I won't talk to them at all no matter what unless she forgives them. She cried and screamed at me and she once again said that she didn't marry me only to be told that her husband is in bed with another woman. I told her that I love her and I didn't want to hurt her. I comforted her as best as I could and told her that she'll never see me with or anywhere near my cousins ever again unless she approves of it. I think I managed to calm my wife down and if I have to cut my cousins off to keep my life partner in my life then I'll do what's necessary. I think I should have done that long ago and yes I agree I should have listened to her instead of convincing her. My wife is religious and extremely dedicated to me. I was being an ass and I will change that no matter what. Comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, you should have cut off your cousins the moment the prank happened. No joke is worth risking your marriage, and your wife's trust was shattered by their cruel actions, making it vital that you show her she comes first. Commenter 2. No, instead he defended them and no matter what people on here said he refused to listen and kept doubling down she will get over it they did no wrong. He completely ignored they tried to destroy his marriage and kept saying but it's an April Fool's. Even though it had been days of their relationship in tatters. This guy's an idiot and I honestly don't know why the wife's still with him. Right at the start she told him her rule for staying with him was cutting them off. He still defended them and acted like she hadn't already told him. He still insisted to everyone she will get over it. Yeah right, he treated her worse than they did. He's damn lucky 8 days later when he asked her to state her conditions once again, like she hadn't already made it clear that she hadn't walked before that. Maybe he hoped she would say something different this time as it was clear he was happy for them to fuck her over and only when he realized it would affect his life and divorce is expensive as suddenly he backed down. Just remember it took 8 days of defending them and ignoring everyone calling him out on his original posts. Him still saying it will blow over and not caring how they or he treated her. She found a real peach here who needs enemies when this is your husband. Commenter 3. She's told him repeatedly what she wants. In his first post, in his last update, and again in this one. Dude just doesn't get it. In 6 months he'll post another one. 6 months ago, my cousins pranked my wife, saying I was cheating on her. She wanted me to cut them out of our lives, but I've been hanging out with them behind her back, and she found out. She served me with divorce papers and moved out. What can I do to get her back? Stories number 2. AITA for expecting my husband to be home every night that we have his kids, my stepkids, at home. My husband has 2 kids from his previous marriage. Both boys, 12 and 14. They are sweet kids, but they're teenage boys, they're wild, they tend to get into fights, they're messy, and listening is not their best life skill at this stage of brain development. I do not have biological kids of my own. I met these kids when we started dating about 4 years ago, and we've all lived together for about 2.5 years. Long story, but we moved last summer about 60 miles from our old home. The move was because the boys' bio mom got remarried to a guy who lived in a different part of the state. To avoid the kids bearing the brunt of the commute, we agreed to move. My husband still commutes to work, and I work from home full-time now. We have 50-50 custody of his kids. During the school year, we never have the kids on Monday or Tuesday nights. My husband enjoys playing in low-stakes, bar poker games, so he generally does that on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's a very long drive to the venue where he plays, so he stays with friends near our old house on those nights and doesn't come home. Not my favorite arrangement, but I go out of my way to ensure he feels like he has autonomy to enjoy his hobbies, something he definitely didn't have in marriage number 1. The issue has come up with regards to our summer custody schedule, which switches to 1 week on, 1 week off from the normal school year schedule. It recently came out in conversation that he expected to still play in his poker game on Tuesday nights during the summer and that he was fully planning on staying with friends and not coming home those nights. It has always been our understanding and agreement that he would be home any night we have the boys here. When I brought this up, he told me he didn't think it was a big deal to not be home 1 night a week and to expect me to handle everything on those nights. I am super uncomfortable being here with them alone. They make me anxious, I hate when they fight, and I don't think it's my place as a step-parent to discipline them. If they were kids who just read books and sat in silence all night, I might feel differently, but there's an always greater than 0% chance that someone is literally throwing punches, and I have no interest in being solely in charge of that situation. I already am the default parent for laundry, school pickup, scheduling, meals, and the primary caretaker anytime during school breaks, since I work from home. I have clearly communicated to my husband how I feel about being here alone with them, so he is aware. Beyond how it impacts me, I don't think it's a great example for the kids, either. It's not like my husband is on work trips, it's like, hey dad would rather play poker than be here with you. I just feel like part of being a parent is you have to plan your life around kid stuff. My husband already has it easier than most because of the joint custody and the fact that I am happy to sacrifice some of the few days we would have alone for the two of us so that he can pursue this hobby. So serve it to me straight, AITA here. My husband is making me feel like I am, but I just feel like this is me making a reasonable ask and trying to set a very legitimate boundary. Stories number 3. My brother was taken by ICE. Hey everyone, sorry to bother you. My brother studies in the US, he's a PhD student, and today we tried to call him for Eid. He hasn't been answering our calls or WhatsApp messages, which is very unlike him. We're panicking and don't know what to do. What can we do? He did express that students in his uni have been arrested in the past month, that's why we believe that's what happened. Please, what can we do? We live at the end of the world and he is alone and never been put in a situation like this. My mom has been crying non-stop and she's a diabetic, I am afraid something bad will happen to her. Top comments. Commenter 1, try to contact your country's Department of Foreign Affairs. They'll likely have a section on their website for families of citizens detained abroad that tells you how to contact them and explaining what help can be provided. Commenter 2, you can try contacting his PI and people working in his group. If you want you can DM me his name and I can send you relevant email addresses. Update. Hello everyone, first of all I don't know if I am allowed to post updates in this subreddit, so I do apologize for the mods in advance if it's against the rules. However, I feel like I have an obligation to provide updates, especially because of how serious this topic is. After over 24 hours of pure terror and hopelessness, we were contacted by our country's embassy in Washington after making a call to their emergency line, and they have an update for us. My brother was apparently mistakenly detained by ICE along with other students and he was sent to a detention center. I'm not sure if it's the one everyone said in Louisiana like some of the comments yesterday because they did not mention it, but they confirmed his detention and appointed 2 embassy lawyers for him through the consulate in Houston. I can't speak and say much about the details obviously, but they reassured us that if he did not have social media or have political posts and did not join any protests or civil movements he will be okay and will be released, to which we confirmed it with them and they are in communication with the US government and the university and hopefully he will be out in a few days. They are on their way to the detention center to meet him. They again said confirmed to us that there's nothing to be worried about if he hasn't done anything wrong basically, and that it's common in the US that they mistakenly detain students especially during this time, which I thought was extremely scary. So yes, in summary, hopefully he'll be out in no time. I also want to thank everyone who messaged me on private messages. I received over 50 messages and I was unable to reply to all of them. We were overwhelmed with support and the gesture and kindness definitely reached and touched me and my family's heart, so again thank you. This American era really reminds me of the post-9/11 Muslims Americans witch hunt and detention. I hope everyone there will be safe. Top comment. Commenter, it isn't wrong to use your voice. None of this is normal. I am so sorry. Stories number 4. I, M21, slapped my girlfriend, F20, out of reflex when I woke up to her doing certain things to me, using a throwaway for this. I guess I have to put a TW for sexual assault here. I feel horrible for what I did. How do I even start this? Let me just start by saying that I would never slap her intentionally, let alone hurt her in any way. My girlfriend has a very high sex drive unlike me and therefore she is the one to initiate sex most of the time. It took me a few years to fully trust her, but she was such a loving and caring person who understood my trauma and was always able to control herself even with her high sex drive. When I was a child I was sexually molested by my own egg donor. I remember how she covered my mouth with her hand while holding me down and I tried to scream and defend myself. But I was just a little boy and she was a grown woman. I wouldn't call her mother because that's not what mothers do. This traumatized me and it destroyed every relationship I tried to build with a woman. It was hard for me to trust one until my girlfriend appeared. And she always respected my consent so far. Yesterday evening she wanted to have sex and I told her I wasn't in the mood right now and then I turned around. I woke up in the middle of the night to my blanket gone and her doing oral sex. My heart started beating really fast. All the anxiety I felt as a child came back and before I realized I slapped her so hard she fell at my side of the bed. I immediately realized what I just did. The only thing I thought about was that I slapped her. She held her cheek while looking at me with a shocked face before starting to cry. I wanted to comfort her and apologize but she ran out of the room into the bathroom where she cried her eyes out and then she went to sleep on the couch. I apologized repeatedly but she refuses to talk to me. I feel so bad. I know I am a horrible person and there is no excuse for this. But what can I do so that she speaks to me again? Is there anything I can do so she forgives me? Comments. Commenter 1. Listen OP, high sex drive or not. You said no. You were unconscious. You could not consent. She sexually assaulted you. What you did was self-defense and now she's trying to make herself into the victim, so you pushed the whole thing to the side and don't realize how horrible of a person she is. Unless you explicitly stated and reaffirmed that somnophilia is something you would like to try out. Then what she did is assault. And if you hadn't have woken up, she would have gone further. Commenter 2, does she know about DNA provider? Either way she SAU. You are not in the wrong. You were unconscious and unable to consent. Reply, she knows. Commenter 3, I'm so sorry. This woman raped you. I'd reassess this relationship. Consent is required for every sexual act and she didn't have any. Trusting someone is not a green light to do whatever you want to them. Please consider your safety. Edit, switched sexually assaulted to raped. Edit 2, I agree with those commenting she should be charged and he should get away from her. I know apologies are not enough and will be meaningless in the long run. I have removed that he is owed an apology because it means nothing. He should not feel sorry for defending himself against rape is what I should have said. Update, when I made the original post I definitely didn't thought it would blow up like this. And I certainly didn't expect the comments to be so one-sided. And I didn't expect them to be on my side. I expected nothing but people telling me how horrible I was and I felt that this would be the only comment I deserved. But after reading literally thousands of comments I slowly began to realize what actually happened there. You have to understand that this moment shocked me to the core and this shock still was there when I uploaded the original post. I saw myself as the absolutely disgusting women beater because of it. I never wanted to hurt anyone but I realized now that it was a trauma response. When I woke up to her going down on me it felt like my whole body was controlled by someone else. Like I was controlled by strings that forced me to react like that. And the more comments I read the more I was sure about that. One day after the post, after thousands of comments from Reddit but also from TikTok and many DMs I talked to her about it and I broke up with her. Because all of this made me realize that my perspective of loving and caring was pretty fucked up. I realized that she showed me the bare minimum of compassion someone should have in a relationship and I noticed many toxic patterns I haven't realized before. But going into them now would not only be irrelevant to the actual topic but it also would take way too long for this update post. By the way, she refused to apologize to me and demanded an apology from me. Besides my now ex-girlfriend I only had one friend. I don't have an actual mother or a father. I don't have grandparents or siblings. Just this one friend. So I really lack of healthy bonds in my life. Breaking up with her was a hard thing to do but it was necessary. She currently stays with her mom who also called me yesterday to ask why I broke up with her. And I saw no reason to lie and just told her everything. She was quiet on the phone for a while and then just told me her daughter's ex-boyfriend broke up with her for a similar reason. She said it wasn't the same situation but a similar one and then she apologized. She didn't go into details, but if I'm interpreting it correctly, my ex seems to have a thing for traumatized men. But again there is no evidence to support that claim. That's just how I would interpret this conversation with her mom. So what am I going to do now? Well, I'm going to therapy and probably won't enter a new relationship anytime soon. I focus on myself and I have to heal. No, I won't press charges because that would mean that I would have to deal with it in a negative way and put energy into it that I just don't have. I hope you can understand that. Her mom is probably going to punish her anyway, and losing the respect of a person you love dearly, I can imagine that's worse than what she would get as a punishment from the court. As for you, I would like to thank you all for your comments. The comments you left on the original post, the private messages but also all the comments you left on the TikTok posts that shared my story. If you left a comment on one of the TikToks, chances are I've read it. Thank you all so much. Comments. Commenter 1, I remember reading your other post, man. Your girlfriend is the opposite of, I can fix him, but rather, I can traumatize him further. I'm so sorry and I really hope she stays out of your life. It will hopefully only be up from here for you. Commenter 2, wow, so she is a serial rapist who targets men that were already abused since their trauma makes them easier to manipulate. I am not going to tell you that you absolutely have to report her to the authorities but your ex will most definitely do this again to someone else. You are proof of that. Being punished by her mother is in no way going to prevent this from happening again. Reply, I see your point but right now I just don't have the energy to do this. I consider reporting it when I feel better but not right now. Especially since it feels very unlikely they believe me. Update, I can't believe that I'm updating again after such a long time but now something happened and I think some of you might be interested. If you read my previous posts about this topic you know what happened. It's been a few months so not everyone might know about it. So a few months ago I was in a relationship with someone who SA'd me and I defended myself by slapping her in a trauma response. Back then I felt terrible but this wonderful community made me realize I was the victim. I've been through a healing process, and even though the scars of my past may never fully heal, they definitely can be brought to a point where I can live with them and it's perfectly fine. However, what happened that I felt the need to update you? Well, apparently my ex got reported by someone. The letter arrived today and they need me as a witness. Probably another guy who she felt the need to re-traumatize, or maybe even her ex. Who knows? Wouldn't be the first time. I'm not quite familiar with the details yet, but I think I'm ready. A few months ago the wounds were fresh and I had to put myself first. This is why I refused to report her myself. I explained back then that if I reported her then I would have been forced to deal with this again in a negative way and put energy into it that I just don't have. But maybe I can get something close to justice now that I feel better. I think I'm going to do it. Comments. Commenter. Go get some justice, help others out, it helps with the healing. Update 3. The last time I updated was a year ago. It's probably time to tell you what happened. Quick summary. The last time I was called to court as a witness when a man assuming one of her exes accused her of the same thing. I shared my story and she was found guilty. Turned out besides me there was another guy who was also called as a witness. And our stories had so much in common you wouldn't believe it. Interesting enough, her mother wasn't even trying to defend her daughter. She just apologized to me again in person when we left the building. If you're thinking my ex got the deserved punishment, well, I don't know about that. You decide for yourself if you think it's enough. She wasn't sent to jail, just a 6 months community service. But if I'm honest with you, I'm fine with that. It was never about whether her punishment was great enough. It was never about revenge or anything, it was simply about satisfaction that she's not getting away with it. And with that, this chapter is now closed for good. I thought I should probably let you know. I want to thank all of you for your support. I shared my story about a year ago and to this day people interact with me. They write me messages and it's heartwarming. I was able to heal and even find new friends. And I promise I will never forget what this community did for me. Wish you a happy life. And maybe we'll see us someday again. Bye. Comments. Commenter 1. I agree she should be on the sex offender list of only to have it on record for the next unfortunate person she dates. Commenter 2. Her mom totally gave the prosecution all her ex's names. Commenter 3. Good mom. Commenter 4. I read it when you posted it a year ago and I still have the same opinion, if this story is even real. Who the fuck strikes their significant other for giving a surprise blowjob? You assaulted your so for something that happened to you in the past that she had nothing to do with, and then you wanted to go further and ruin her life with criminal charges on top of it. The more I lay out the details, the more fake this story seems. If it isn't, then God help your next partner doesn't make the wrong move and trigger you. Reply. Commenter 5. You should have apologized. I'm sorry for what happened to you, but your trauma is your burden. You can't expect everyone else to shift their behavior like the world revolves around you. Reply. No, but I can expect someone not to sexually assault me in my sleep and then expect me not to defend myself, especially after knowing my trauma. You have literally zero empathy for any victims of SA. Final update. It's been a while. How are you guys doing? I'm not that active on Reddit, as you could probably tell. My post is now 2 years old. That's crazy to think about. I know exactly how broken I was back then. This entire situation was pretty bad to say the least. I still get DMs BTW, which is kinda surprising to me. I just wanted to let you know that I've seen it all, even if I couldn't answer to everyone. I thought those who are still here might want to know what happened to me. The result may seem surprising, but I'm in a relationship again and my GF is very kind and understanding. She knows what I've been through. She treats me well, respects my boundaries, and honestly I couldn't wish for a more wonderful partner. I've been through a lot, but I've been doing great lately. I will also never forget how much compassion you people have brought up for me. That is something I definitely deeply appreciate. Comments. Commenter 1. That's so fantastic you're able to trust again after your experiences. Have you been in therapy? I like to think there are more good people out there like your girlfriend than bad ones like your ex. Commenter 2. I appreciate that you have updated us, as many people just leave us on cliffhangers. Stories number 5. I was just kicked in the back and back of the head, whilst sat on the floor, by my GF whilst she screamed, "How can you be so abusive?" My abuse was not engaging in a top-tier screaming match with her. She'd already gone well beyond any chance of a reasonable discussion or meaningful resolution, she'd just completely lost it. I have quite a nasty temper myself, so I often just kind of shut down and say, "I can't engage with you when you're like this, I need you to leave now and we'll sort it when you're more calm." My refusal to engage is negligent, I don't care about her, I do nothing for her, I've abandoned our relationship, etc. etc. Well, I have now. That won't be tolerated. We're not drunk, we're not arguing about anything other than tidying the house, nothing serious or heavy or life-changing. Never mind an excuse, there's not even an explanation for the insane level that just reached out of nowhere for absolutely no reason whatsoever. All I can think is she might be pregnant and hormonal or something. Still unacceptable, and she's still seen the door, but it's the only thing I can think that could have made things blow up like that. Worst of it is I'm quite a big guy and she's only little, and she's kicking me and calling me abusive, and I just started laughing cause it was funny, but it just made her angrier, hahaha. WTF do I even do now? Stories number 6. AITA for yelling at my aunt after she kept pressuring me to marry her son. I'm 24F from Pakistan. Here cousin marriages are common and my aunt keeps pressuring me to marry her son, 25M, since I was a teen. This started in my teen years. My aunt would start making jokes such as, "You'd make a good daughter-in-law," or, "You and her son's name would make a good couple," etc. I used to brush it off back then, ignore it and such, hoping it would stop, but they never did. Instead it started being more common. She started doing it every time we met, and I've shut her down politely every time, saying I'm not interested and it won't ever happen. My mom knew how much it bothered me. She didn't want to disrespect her elders, so she kept quiet and only spoke about it in private when my aunt messaged her. My mom told me to keep quiet and ignore because she won't let it happen. This was very uncomfortable. This whole thing gave my cousin some wrong ideas because he started messaging me in private saying things like, "We're getting married in the future, so why aren't you talking to me now?" I'd just ghost him and ignore his messages. Just a few years ago, I lost my temper at a family gathering after my aunt said, "You're all grown up now, when are you going to marry him? Our decision is final." The strong feeling of ick and cringe just made me lash out. I yelled at my aunt, calling her stupid for not listening to me and not understanding what no means. I used mild swear words as well, and it was a whole heated argument. To end the argument, my brother had to physically carry me out of the house, where I had a breakdown and we all just left her house. My mom was hurt by this a lot, and I could feel the pain in her voice whenever we spoke about this. She said she just wishes I handled it differently. After this came a series of unwanted toxicity and drama. My aunt yelled at my mom, making her look like a terrible person for letting that happen, and cut off all ties. She influenced mom's oldest sister and brother to do the same. My cousin got married to someone else and we found out about it through someone else. He got married and divorced just later that year, and somehow my aunt managed to partially blame me and mom for that divorce even though we played no part in it. My mom deals with her siblings often, and sometimes they drag her into dramas. I've seen her cry in her room alone because of this, and it makes me feel bad. I feel like I should have done better or done things differently for the sake of my mom. All this toxicity and drama would have been avoided if I did things different. Stories number 7. Was I too harsh for telling my ex and my husband's toxic family to fuck off when they tried to reconnect after finding out that I am pregnant? I, 29F, was in a relationship for 3 years between the ages of 19 and 22 with my ex-boyfriend, 31M. Towards the ending, our relationship was rocky and I felt like I was the only one trying to save it. I wrote a lot about it in my diary. I still write. It's a habit of mine and helps me, and one evening, I went through my diary after I finished writing it until it was full and realized how badly he treated me in the past couple of months. I had a serious conversation with him the next day about it and told him how I truly felt and that I felt like he didn't love me anymore. He kept brushing me off and not putting in any work. A few weeks after that conversation, his behavior suddenly changed almost completely. He gifted me with compliments, bought me flowers, kissed me every chance we got, etc. I was so happy, until I found out through a friend of his that he cheated on me on their boys' night out around 2 weeks ago. Cheating is an immediate deal breaker for me. I'm surely not a perfect person, but if there's one thing I am and always will be, it's loyal. Loyalty is, in my opinion, the most important character trait someone can have, and I will never ever forgive cheating. I don't care the circumstances. Well, he didn't take the breakup lightly. I simply texted him that I knew what happened in and after the bar and that he had 1 week to pick up his stuff from my place and bring me mine. He didn't do it. He kept on begging for another chance, telling me that he loves me to death, etc. I didn't care. After 3 weeks of that drama, my best friend's older brother went to his place to get my stuff. He's like an older brother to me and he's also very intimidating, so. My ex didn't want to give him my stuff at first, but after some talking, he finally gave in. Well, my life moved on. I was heartbroken but finished my degree a few months later. It was only then that one of his friends reached out to me to tell me that he wasn't taking the breakup well and that he started drinking more or less every weekend, which turned into every weekend plus some extra days under the week and so on. He also told me that he dropped out of college and was now working a part-time job as a bartender. He went on and told me that since the breakup, he was having casual hookups almost every weekend, and sometimes even more, and he would usually pick up a girl after his shift, and that he lost all hope in love and true connection. The whole message was a lot longer, but this was years ago and I don't remember exactly every single word he said to me, but it was something like that. Well, originally I didn't plan on responding to this because, why would I care? He was the one who decided to cheat on me and destroy our relationship, so I didn't think that I had the obligation to say anything to that. Well, a couple of weeks later, a different friend reached out, but it was obvious that the two spoke before, because he said that I was being cold, cruel, and heartless for not talking to him and not at least hearing him out and giving him another chance. That was the first time that I responded to a message, because I was so mad and confused. He treated me like garbage for the last couple of months of our relationship, only to then cheat on me. I didn't want to be with someone who could betray me like that. I've always been a firm believer that having strict boundaries will always be good and I will always stick by it. I don't allow cheating and I am glad that I ended the relationship. Fast forward, I was 24 and a friend of mine that I met at my work brought me to a social gathering where I met my now husband, 32M. At first he was very cold and distant, and I'm also a very introverted person. The first conversation we had was in the group setting, where we rarely interacted directly with each other. At some point the topic, family, came up, and I don't even remember exactly what the question was that he got asked, but basically someone asked about his family and he simply said that he was not in contact with any of his family members anymore. The group conversation died down after a while, and at some point, after having some more drinks and warming up a bit more, he approached me and we started chatting privately. At first it was just small talk about who we were, interests, and stuff like that. But honestly, I felt a connection to him from the beginning on, when we started talking privately. The conversation turned personal quicker than it usually does for me, because I'm an introverted person as I said and also a very private person. But for some reason, it felt good to be open to him. Well, he's my now husband, so I guess that my gut feeling was right. Well, I told him about my last relationship, how it ended, and everything like that, and that's when he opened up to me and told me that the reason why he has no contact to his family anymore is because his brother had an affair with his girlfriend, and after he broke up with her, the girlfriend and the brother became a couple, and his family basically told him to come to terms with it, because they both clearly love each other and deserve to be in each other's lives, and that he shouldn't take it too personal because the heart wants what it wants. He told me more details about how the whole story went down and everything that was being said between him and his family. I teared up at some point. I'm not a super emotional person, and I don't cry easily, but something in me stirred when he told me that. I genuinely felt so bad for him. We were talking more and started dating not long after and, well, the rest is history. We got married last year and honestly, my husband is the best person I've ever met in my entire life. A couple of months ago, I got pregnant with our first child and we couldn't be happier. I shared the news of my pregnancy and, well, it reached my ex and my husband's family. I have my ex blocked everywhere. On every social media platform, his number is blocked and everything, and my husband's family is blocked by both him and me. The first message came from his mother, who made a new Instagram account to congratulate us and to tell my husband that she couldn't wait to become a grandmother. My husband didn't see the message first and only discovered it 2 days later. And when I tell you that my husband was so furious, he was shaking, and honestly, I was surprised that he didn't start to cry because of all of that. He didn't respond to his mother at first. He was way too shaken up. And I just let him vent to me, and we spoke about this whole situation. Not even a day after, his brother reached out to him, telling him that the relationship with his ex-girlfriend didn't work out. Because, well, guess what? She cheated on him. What a surprise. He also told him that he would love to reconcile because he missed his older brother, and that mom and dad were speaking about him a lot, and that they were missing him too. Funny that his mother never mentioned that in her message and father didn't even reach out. That's when my husband cracked and cried. I don't know for how long I held him, but I was so furious that these horrible people had the audacity to reach out. Well, that wasn't enough for a day, because the day his brother reached out to him was also the day my ex reached out to me. Basically, he was telling me that he was being so miserable ever since we broke up, and that he still loves me, that there wasn't a day where he didn't love me, that he misses me, blah blah blah. Towards the ending of the message, he said that, although I'm pregnant with another man's child, he would step in and raise that child as his own if I was ready to leave my husband to be with him again. The sheer audacity. I was so furious. I don't think I've ever been this mad before in my entire life. I messaged all of them, my ex and my husband's family, and told all of them to fuck off, to never contact my husband or me again, and that we didn't want any of them near us or our baby, ever. I sent each individual a message. Basically, I said a lot more harsh words, telling all of them that they were all horrible people. The messages from my husband's family were different from the message from my ex, because obviously the situations are different, but basically I told all of them to fuck off, that all of them were horrible and disgusting people who don't know what loyalty means, that they made their own bed and can lie in it, and a lot more. The messages were all pretty long. I also told all of them that they knew exactly what they did, that they made all of their choices. My ex knew how much he was hurting me by mistreating me for months, and he knew exactly what my stance on loyalty is, and he knew what he destroyed when he cheated on me. When I texted my husband's family, I told them that their own son, their flesh and blood, hasn't had any contact to them in almost a decade because of the mistakes they made. They were too busy playing in-laws for their other son and the ex-girlfriend, who is nothing but a rear. All in all, I told all of them that they could lie on their deathbed and I wouldn't care, nor would my husband, that I hated all of them and that I would never allow my child to be around such people, because if that's what family means, then I'm glad my husband and I escaped and made our own family. We have my family, my parents, and my side. I have a pretty big family with lots of aunts and uncles, so my child will grow up with a big family and a lot of people surrounding them. Before I sent the messages, my husband read through all of them, and he was more than happy about what I had to say. He was completely okay with every single thing I had to say. I love my husband so much and I feel so bad that his family tried to insert themselves into his life again. No one seemed to care that his own brother betrayed him like that, and his parents didn't even try to stop him. And now they reached out because why? I'm pregnant. They didn't reach out when we got married or got engaged, moved in together or whatnot. But now that a baby's on the way, suddenly all of them want to be involved again. And my ex, well, I'm surprised he didn't reach out sooner when he still loved me so much, but now he wants to step in and raise another man's child. I really don't care what happens to any of these people, I want my peace. I want my husband's peace and our baby's peace. But some people in my life read the messages I wrote and told me that I was being way too harsh and cruel and should have said it differently. Honestly, I thought about it for a while and I don't think so, but more people come to say that I was being way too cruel and way too harsh, and now I'm questioning everything. Was I too harsh? TLDR. Cheating ex and toxic estranged family from husband want to reconnect after learning that I am pregnant. Stories number 8. AITA for refusing to tell my parents where my sister is buried. I, 28M, had an older sister, Lily, who passed away last year. We were incredibly close growing up, but our home life was not great. Our parents were extremely controlling, obsessed with appearances and cruel behind closed doors. Lily felt this the most, especially when she started to rebel. When she turned 18, she left the house with nothing but a backpack and cut off all contact with them. They portrayed her as a lost cause and told people she was a drug addict, mentally ill, and dangerous. None of this was true. She just wanted a life away from them. We secretly kept in touch. She changed her name, moved to another city and built a quiet, peaceful life for herself. She never asked for money. She never hurt anyone. She just wanted to be left alone. Last year, she passed away from a sudden illness. It was devastating. She made me promise that I wouldn't let her anywhere near her. Not to her grave, not to her memory, not to anything. She didn't want a funeral. She wanted to be buried in a quiet, unmarked place, and she made me swear I would never tell them where. I respected her wishes. I paid for everything, kept it to myself, and didn't tell our parents that she had even died until weeks later. When I finally did, they went crazy. They said I was a monster. That I was keeping them from grieving. That I had no right to keep their daughter from them. They begged me, sometimes calmly, sometimes with massive threats, to tell them where she was. I will not do that. I will not break that promise. Since then, they have spoken out publicly on social media, claiming I am mentally unstable, accusing me of hiding a body, and announcing they will take legal action. The extended family is torn, some think I did the right thing, others say I'm playing God. But the truth is, they buried it long before I did. Edit. A couple years ago they stole my phone and went through it finding photos of her and her family. My sister knew it had happened because I told her, but names, ages and whereabouts are kept secret, and it has come to my attention that a lot of people have been asking why I told my parents she died because she allowed me to. She was fine with it because she liked the thought of making them feel that pain of never being able to have her in their lives, so they would stop pushing me and spreading lies about her. And to repeat, I had contact with my sister but my parents did not. AITA, because I kept the location of my sister's funeral a secret from our parents. Stories number 9. Wife, 38F, says I'm 40F, classist, for correcting our son's English. TLDR, wife says I'm classist for correcting our son's English. My wife, 38F, and I, 40F, have been married for 11 years, together for 20. We have two kiddos, 7M and 2F. My wife and I grew up in very different economic conditions. I was upper middle class and my wife was working class. Together, we are now solidly upper middle and live in a high cost of living area. We built a little suite on our property where her parents live now, MNF mid-60s. I tend to correct our son's English when he uses it incorrectly. He hangs out with my in-laws a lot and picks up some bad habits, for example saying something like, "I seen the ball over there." I correct him by saying something like, "Do you mean, I saw the ball?" And he usually responds with, "Yeah." My wife says that I should stop correcting him because it's classist. We got into a bit of an argument last night about it. I corrected him when my MIL was around and my wife said I made her feel bad. This is where I'm pretty sure I was the asshole. I said that, regardless of how she grew up, we are now living in the world where I grew up and people in this world judge others by the way they speak and act. Our son is growing up like this too and has to have the tools to make a good impression on others. I immediately apologized, but she's pretty upset with me. I know that she is sensitive about our financial situation and feels a little guilty about leaving her roots. She has worked really hard to get us to this point. I'm a Som and have been since our son was born, but I think she has some imposter syndrome tendencies. She deserves every cent she earns, and works with a lot of young people that are similar to how she grew up. Does anyone have any advice on how we can overcome these sorts of issues? We generally have a wonderful relationship, but these problems have been with us since the beginning. Of note, there are other related things that she considers classist, manners that are beyond common sense, napkins on laps, how to sit, proper dishes, $5 words. The most recent was presupposition, drinking wine at dinner, and talking about fine art. Also, spending more than $10 on 5 ounces of cheese, but I think that was a joke. Stories number 10. AITA for calling my dad a coward and saying I hate him after he killed himself. I am 15, my dad killed himself 6 months ago. No warning, no note, nothing. He just shot himself in the garage while I was at school. That's how he chose to leave. I have 2 older brothers, 28M and 24M, and 2 sisters, 26F and 21F. We were all at my brother's house last weekend, sitting around talking about him. Everyone was sharing stories, crying, calling him strong, and saying he did the best he could. And I just couldn't take it anymore. I said, he wasn't strong. He was a coward. I hate him for what he did. The room went dead silent. My oldest brother stood up and looked like he was going to hit me. My other brother walked out without saying a word. My sisters were crying. One of them told me to get out, so I did. They haven't talked to me since. I tried texting, even kind of apologized, but they're ignoring me. The truth is, I'm still mad. I don't just feel hurt, I feel betrayed. I hate him. I hate that he left me to deal with this. I hate that he didn't even say goodbye. I hate that everyone acts like it was okay. I get that depression is real. But he was supposed to be our dad. He was supposed to be stronger than the part of him that wanted to quit. But he wasn't. And I can't forgive that. Stories number 11. My husband told me something about our friend's relationship and now I don't know what to do. My husband and I are best friends with a couple. His best friend is the man, my best friend is the woman. Today she and I went out for coffee. She was venting to me about how she's sad because they, her boyfriend and her, are going through a rough patch, but things are starting to clear up. My husband was out with her boyfriend. He just came back home drunk and in his drunken condition, told me his friend cheated on my best friend, and now I don't know what to do. My husband is loyal to his friend, and I could not care less what happens to their relationship, but I do care about my best friend. What do I do? Do I tell her? Do I not tell her? Do I try to tell her anonymously? Or do I leave it all alone because it's none of my business? I'm so torn. Edit. I posted this at 2 a.m. panicked and upset with the information I had received. It is now morning. For those commenting on how I'm a bad partner because I don't care about my husband's relationship with his friend, yes, obviously I do care. I'd been put in a corner and was writing the information I had received in that literal moment because as you can all tell, this is a delicate and difficult situation. Had this been a face-to-face real-life situation, I would normally wait until I'm emotionally grounded to have a conversation and avoid saying things like that to a person's face. Morally, I could not live with myself if I withheld the truth from my best friend, even if she ended up disliking me for telling her the truth. Emotionally, psychologically, I could not look her in the eye nor comfortably tell myself I'm her best friend if I am hiding a truth like this from her. I avoided posting more details about her rough patch because A, it's the internet and I can post freely about my business, my knowing this information, but not her business, what she has vented to me about, but for clarification, the rough patch was and is not about cheating, at least from what she told me. Anywho, to the rest who did their best to help, thank you. it's morning and now I'm waiting to talk to my own partner to see the best way to maneuver this. I also fixed the grammar from could to could not, even though I don't feel the same way right now, for authenticity's sake. Stories number 12. AIO husband made plans with Amiel on our anniversary after saying she was too busy to babysit that day for a meal. My husband and I have been married over 10 years and rarely ever spend time together outside of parenting our 3 kids. Maybe 5 dates in the past 10 years, if that. My parents are estranged, his dad works a ton, and his mom prefers not to babysit much for whatever reason. She doesn't work but she keeps busy with crafting and socializing and appointments. We have celebrated very few anniversaries, and this year I asked if he could ask Amiel to babysit so we could have a lunch or dinner date. IWFH and he cares for our youngest, who will be starting pre-K in the fall. So it could have been a lunch date while she watched our 3-year-old or the unlikely dinner date where she would watch all 3 kids. My husband explained she would be busy all week packing and planning for an upcoming trip, 4-hour drive away. Disappointing but no surprise. I didn't block my work calendar. Fast forward to our anniversary morning and he lets me know he and our youngest have made plans to go pick strawberries with his mom at lunch. And would I like to go? My calendar was full of meetings because I thought there had been no chance for us to grab lunch. Also thought his mom was way too busy to spend time with family that day, which is why he refused to ask her to take an hour of time for us to share a rare meal, just the 2 of us. I cried and yelled at him for planning a date with his mom instead of his wife on our anniversary. And then I had to juggle work and parenting while he showered and got ready. I was furious and it honestly ruined my day. Today he maintains he did nothing wrong and that I acted insane just because he wanted to spend time with his mom, whom he saw just the night before our anniversary BTW. What do you think? Am I overreacting or is it hurtful to not have wanted to make plans with me, not been worth asking a favor, saying he wouldn't ask because she is much too busy, and then making plans with her on her busy day? Honestly, it isn't lost on me that this is just a day in a loveless marriage. We both love our kids so much, and it's been so important to me for our kids to have parents who love and support them, are present for them, and who stay together. I love the dad he is, but it's been the loneliest romantic relationship I have ever had. For over a decade. Sometimes I mourn the feeling of being cherished. Of someone enjoying my company or cheering me on. Of not being frustrated and annoyed every time I speak. So a lot of that spewed out after I heard about the strawberries. And yeah, maybe I way overreacted, but I just want to feel like a person who matters to my partner whom I have to interact with and compromise with every single day. Stories number 13. My neighbor takes up all the parking spaces on the street, so I made friends with the birds. Simple petty revenge. I have a neighbor who takes up all the free parking on our street, and in front of my home, with his trucks, 8 or 10 of them, and also has done lots of things to personally annoy me, like drive his dirt bikes through my front yard and letting his dog crap there, right in front of me. I befriended the local family of crows by feeding them their favorite things. Now I will occasionally see 5 or 6 crows waiting patiently in the tree in front of my house, crapping, and looking especially creepy, but surprisingly not making a whole lot of noise to give away our secret to the other, nicer neighbors. They have also not crapped on my car in my driveway once, not once, in all of the past months I've been treating them. The trees mostly cover the street area anyway. Edit. If you know crows, they are legion, and if my neighbor decides to retaliate, there will surely be a full-on war. Stories number 14. I got told off by my male boss for putting the wife's name in front of the husband's name. I work as a receptionist and deal with a lot of paperwork and meeting bookings. For me, gender doesn't matter for married couples. I don't really care or notice if the woman's name is first, etc. When arranging paperwork for one couple, I just listed it as Jane and John. My boss came up to me and said, "I've noticed you put the wife's name in front sometimes, we don't do that here. I'm traditional and for my paperwork I need you to put the husband's name first." I get that it's traditional, but in 2025? I feel like that's so sexist. Another thing is, this also applies to when the female is the paying client. I'm expected to put the husband first. It's something small but it just ticks me off. Stories number 15. AITA for telling my daughter's half-sister we're not going to adopt her. My husband and I adopted my daughter, Sophia, 5F, 3 years ago. Sophia is biologically my half-sister. My father and his wife died very suddenly, leaving behind Sophia, and his wife's other daughter, Hannah, 9. Hannah is currently in the care system. She lives in a group home that is equipped for her needs. We try to get the girls together every couple of weeks for supervised visits. Sophia has always been aware that she is adopted, which normally happen with their maternal grandmother, who I'll call Lori. Lori has been combative with us since we met her, because she thought it was wrong for us not to adopt Hannah as well as Sophia, even though she is well aware of why it wasn't the right choice for our family. All this to say, when I say I think I know where Hannah has been getting certain ideas, I am pretty certain. Hannah has always made little comments about living with us one day. She's used to say, one day when me and Sophia live together, or reference the girls sharing a room, or talk about pets she wants when she can move home. We've always tried to play this off so as not to upset her, and I really figured she would grow out of it. Her social worker said she definitely would grow out of it, but it never happened. Nowadays, she makes comments about being good so she can come with us, and makes an over-the-top effort to show off her achievements when we are there on visits. She's even started being disparaging about anything Sophia does and constantly one-upping her. It's really sad to see, and no one listens when I say that someone needs to stop feeding into all this. I know they all want her to behave, but Lori is constantly validating her saying this stuff, and I hate that. The social worker just says it's good that Hannah is making strides with her behavior. This just seems cruel and manipulative, like they're letting this carrot dangle in front of this kid so that they can benefit without thinking what this will do to her. So a month ago we were out and Hannah once again brought up that she wants a horse if she's come to live with us. Lori smiled and said that would be really nice, but she will have to be a good girl to get a horse, and I just looked at her like WTF. I told Hannah that she wouldn't be able to live with us, because she was very loved at the home where she is and they take really good care of her, and that we couldn't do enough of a good job at that. Hannah didn't really seem to understand what I was saying, but she didn't hug us goodbye like normal when we dropped her back. When we picked her up the last 2 times to go out, she was really quiet and sullen and didn't want to do anything. She wouldn't play or take part in anything we did. According to Lori, Hannah has been acting up at home and school as well. She's blaming me. I take the blame for this change, I get it. But I still feel like ultimately someone needed to have that conversation with Hannah, because how long was she meant to believe she could earn being adopted? And how bad was it going to be to come to the realization in however many years that everyone lied to her? But I'm also worried that I've damaged things, because if Hannah stops wanting to see Sophia, I'll have ruined their relationship. And I'm not a trained professional, I maybe didn't say it in the right way. Her social worker didn't think it was a problem, so I should have left it. I feel crappy about it, even though I don't think I was wrong in my intentions. So AITA, edit, why didn't we adopt Hannah? Hannah has medical and psychological complexities as a result of her early life that are not insignificant. We are not equipped financially, materially, or emotionally to provide the care she needs and deserves. Why doesn't Lori have custody of Hannah? Lori has health issues and lives in a senior community. She can't take care of Hannah full-time. Stories number 16. I, M29, was falsely accused of harassment by a woman, F26, I barely knew, and it nearly destroyed me. This happened last year, but it still messes with my head every day. I haven't really told the full story anywhere, but I think I need to get it off my chest. I, M29, work in a mid-sized tech firm in Seattle. I mostly keep to myself, focus on my work, and don't really socialize much outside of my small team. One day, a new hire, F26, joined our department, let's call her Theron. She was friendly, charismatic, and instantly popular with everyone. I was polite to her, but that was about it. A few hellos in the hallway, a comment here and there in group meetings, nothing personal. After about 2 months, I noticed Erin acting cold toward me. I assumed it was nothing personal, maybe just her personality or something going on in her life. Then I got an email from HR requesting a meeting. I had no idea what it was about. When I showed up, they sat me down and said a complaint had been filed against me for unwelcome attention and stalking behavior. I swear my heart stopped. I asked them who had filed it. They wouldn't tell me at first, but eventually, Erin's name came up. I was stunned. She claimed I had followed her to her car multiple times, stared at her in meetings, and made creepy comments about her clothes. None of it was true. In fact, we'd never even had a one-on-one conversation. I was so confused. HR said they'd be conducting an investigation and that I'd be put on work from home pending review. I went home in a daze. I started combing through everything, emails, Slack messages, meeting notes, looking for anything that could be misinterpreted. There was nothing. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. Over the next week, HR interviewed several people. Most said they never noticed anything weird from me, but one guy, who I later found out had a thing for Erin, said I did seem quiet and intense. Whatever that meant. Then the twist came. One of my coworkers, F33, let's call her Dana, reached out to me privately and said something didn't feel right. She told me that Erin had made a weird comment at happy hour the week before, something like, I bet I could get me fired if I wanted to. Dana thought she was joking at the time, but now it didn't seem like a joke. I told HR about it and gave them Dana's name. Dana agreed to talk to them. She even mentioned Aaron laughing about how easy it is to get in a guy's head when he's socially awkward. After that, the investigation took a turn. HR pulled building security footage. Turns out I had never been near Aaron's car. Multiple timestamps contradicted her claims. She said I made comments in meetings I wasn't even in. Eventually, HR concluded there was no basis to her claims. I was cleared. Officially. But unofficially, people still whispered. Some coworkers avoided me. Erin wasn't fired, she was moved to another department. I never got an apology. Not from her, not from HR. Nothing. It's been almost a year, and I still feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I hate how easily it all could have gone the other way. If Dana hadn't spoken up, I might have lost my job and reputation over nothing. Anyway. Just needed to get that out there. Stories number 17. My husband brought home a dog after I said I never want one. When I was 18 I got a beautiful yellow lab. I won't go into detail but he got really sick. I took off work to care for him around the clock. I could not afford the weekend stay the vet wanted to do but I could do all their suggestions for at home. It was like the third day and he started hopping around and playing with me after days of not wanting to eat or move. He was drinking water on his own. I remember thinking thank God. My baby's gonna be okay. We laid down to take a nap in my bed and when I woke up he was curled up next to me sleeping like he always did. I started talking to him all sweet which usually would get him awake. He didn't move and when I went to pick him up he was limp. I was absolutely petrified. I called the emergency vet and jumped in the car immediately. It was only like a 5-minute drive and staff was waiting for me outside when I pulled up. They got him out and told me he's gone, there's nothing they can do. Obviously this absolutely traumatized me. I remember just crying and couldn't eat for weeks. I could barely be around anyone else's dog without breaking down. When I met my husband I told him about my precious yellow lab and what it did to me. I told him that he was my sole dog and I don't think I could ever love another dog like him. For 5 years he has respected this. A month ago he brought home a Chihuahua. He said it was his. Now here I am the only one to potty train him, the only one feeding watering him, the only one giving baths, and the only one loving on him. Don't get me wrong, the Chihuahua is okay. That's all though. I don't feel the bond one had with my lab. I instantly was in love with my lab. And it's just not there for the Chihuahua. I don't know if I should just keep trying, although I'm worried about resentment with my husband when I'm the only one putting in the work. Does anybody else have stories of losing their sole dog and then actually feeling that same love for another dog? I'm worried we won't click like I did with my lab. Stories number 18. AITA for telling my ex's GF she isn't special and he will do it to her too. I, 30F, was only married to my ex-husband, 32M, for 2 years. We dated for a little over a year before we married. When we were dating everything was fine. He had a lower libido than me but I was fine with how often he wanted to have sex, about 2-3x a week. Once we got married that gradually went to maybe twice a month and then nada. The last time he and I had sex was my birthday. My birthday is April 24th, so almost a year now. I asked him to see a doctor. I asked him if there was anything I could do. I tried everything I could think of. He wasn't on a med, he just wasn't interested in sex. I ended up starting the divorce because I'm not living the rest of my life like this. When I started the divorce his ex-wife asked to meet with me and said she hadn't wanted to get involved earlier because she didn't know if I was asexual as well, but that he had done the same thing to her and the GF before her. We are still working on the divorce. Thankfully it is a fairly easy process since we weren't married long and none of our assets were merged, bank accounts, property, etc. We also do not have any children together. Anyway, he is now dating a woman named Amy, 24. Amy has shown up to every divorce hearing lately and acts smug about it like she's winning some sort of prize. She has told me he has sex with her all the time and I just wasn't meeting his needs. I ended up telling her he did the exact same thing to me, he did it to his other ex-wife, and he did it to the GF before her. She isn't special and give it a few months he won't continue this. He is asexual, he is just trying to lock her in before he goes cold on her. She looked shocked and just said she doubts that, then left. Later my ex called and was pissed. He said she is thinking about leaving after what I said and has gotten in contact with some of his exes. I don't really feel sorry for him because it's underhanded and assholish to do that to people, but I do kind of feel bad for ruining his relationship. I told him he should stop doing this and find someone who is also asexual or he will never be happy in a relationship. I'm not sure if I was in a hole for telling her, but I felt like she should know he is doing the same thing to her he did to us, and I wish someone would have told me before I married him. I wasn't super nice about it because she pissed me off, but still I felt like she should know she wasn't the special one that would fix him. Stories number 19. AITA for setting up a hidden camera after suspecting one of my roommates was stealing from me. I, 23F, live in a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 roommates, H, 23F, and E, 21F. We all split rent evenly, and while we're not super close, we've always gotten along just fine until recently. Over the past 2 months, I've noticed small things going missing from my room. A $20 bill from my dresser, some of my nicer makeup, and even a couple pieces of jewelry, nothing expensive, just sentimental. At first I thought maybe I misplaced them, but it kept happening and I started getting paranoid. I didn't want to accuse anyone without proof, so I bought a cheap hidden cam on Amazon and set it up discreetly facing my bedroom door. Not the whole room, just pointing at my door. I didn't tell anyone because I honestly just wanted to know if I was losing my mind or not. So last week while I was at work, the footage showed E coming into my room twice. The one time it looked like she left with something in her hand, but the quality wasn't great, so I couldn't see what it was. When I confronted her, she freaked out, denied everything, then got mad about being recorded and said I violated her privacy. H is now saying I took things too far and that maybe E had a reason to go in. But I'm like, if someone is stealing from me, how else am I supposed to find out? I didn't film anyone changing or in a bathroom, just my doorway. Now the house is super tense, and they both think I'm being weird and extra, so AITA for setting up a camera to protect my stuff. I've heard plenty of stories about roommates stealing before, so I just feel like it's not too crazy to be on the lookout. Stories number 20. I ruined my marriage by confronting an issue head-on that we have danced around for a decade. Just like it says. My wife's a hoarder, and for over a decade I tried to contain it while it ruined my mental and physical health. This last year has been the worst, and I have been doing poorly containing my unhappiness about it. She confronted me about my anger issues and I was honest about my fear, anger, and depression. I want to add that this was not a calm conversation but a big blowout between us, as I think that needs to be mentioned for transparency. Now she wants a divorce, and all attempts to talk about it just make her more upset. Hoarding is like a cancer, and I hate what it's done to my love, my family, and myself. I hate myself for being weak and not standing firm from the beginning by seeking help then and there. By all accounts from outsiders who know the truth of the situation, I have been doing all I can, but she has to want to change and she doesn't. Which means that love cannot conquer this monster, and I will have to watch my whole world be destroyed. I feel helpless, and the only emotion left for me is pain and heartache. I cry and get angry. I get angry and cry. I hate myself, and I hate that my love isn't enough to make this work. Edit. To respond to some of the comments as a whole and to add context, my wife's mother is also a hoarder. Her home is completely unsafe and their family discusses the topic openly, but no one takes action to remedy or get her help. When I have sought assistance from within my wife's family, no one is willing to tackle the issue with any sort of commitment beyond one of her siblings helping me to take stuff to the dump once or twice a year, which has been my regular practice. A practice I adopted and learned from my wife's now deceased father and how he tried to manage her mother's hoarding problem. This is where my guilt largely stems from, as I was an enabler. My wife did not begin hoarding until her father passed about 12 years ago. We have been together for 15 plus years. My home is not one you would see on a show about hoarders because I have never allowed it to get that bad. This has been the biggest area of conflict in our marriage because my attempts to control and mitigate its growth resulted in regular arguments. It always starts out as stuff collecting that she makes excuses to put away so it sits out on common surfaces through the home: tables, counters, chairs, floor space, sofas, beds, etc. Then it gets put into boxes, spare room, garage, etc. if available, to free up those needed sitting and sleeping areas. This would repeat until space for boxes, etc. became tight. Eventually I would have to haul it off to donation or a dump, which would result in a confrontation, and then that cycle would start over as well. We attended therapy for the first time recently, but I waited too long to seek professional help for her and us. There is a lot of stigma, embarrassment, guilt, etc. involved in this illness, which is really dark and not discussed much by those caught within these situations. In therapy she tried to excuse it as her having a lot of art supply stuff, but that is completely untrue. It is rarely trash but actual stuff that has monetary value to some, which is how she tries to justify retaining it. Currently most of our closets are packed with clothes, towels, and bedding. So much so that we are a family of 4 and we have over 30 towels and 20 blankets with a lot of assorted bedding, sheets, pillowcases, etc. There is also a lot of decor decorations, and I'm not talking about holiday stuff, which we also had a large volume of. Another popular item for her to collect are camping outdoor stuff. Mind you, we have camped twice in 12 years, but we own 4 to 5 tents and a myriad of other stuff. Dishes primarily for cooking are also a hot commodity for her to retain in excess. Stories number 21. My boyfriend, M37, says I, F30, want to have my cake and eat it. My boyfriend, M37, and I, F30, have been dating for 8 months. Things can sometimes be tumultuous, but we generally have a good time together, we have similar values and treat each other well. We have a reoccurring challenge that I frame as a lack of community from him and that he frames as a lack of prioritization on my side. I let him know that I will be at a sleepover with my best friends on the weekend since one of them isn't having a great time and we'd like to cheer her up. I could hear his disappointment over the phone when he said, I don't operate as someone in a relationship and I want to have my cake and eat it since I should be hanging out with him over the weekend. I spent the whole of last weekend with him, I saw him during the week, we talk for at least an hour every day multiple times throughout the day and I will be spending some time next week on a holiday I planned for us. I'm struggling with fulfilling his time needs because my other relationships with my friends and family are important to me. How do I maintain my other relationships while also helping my partner feel fulfilled that he's also a priority and important to me? Stories number 22. I 35M was planning to propose but should her 29F support for Trump make me question it? I'm really torn and could use some perspective. My girlfriend, 29, and I, 35, have been together for 8 years. We've built a life together, we've traveled to over 12 countries, supported each other through career changes, family stuff, highs and lows. For the most part, we're incredibly aligned when it comes to values like loyalty, kindness, ambition, and the way we want to live our lives. The only difference is politics. She's a Republican and voted for Trump both times. I'm a Democrat and very much not a Trump supporter. In the early years, I brushed it off because we didn't really talk politics much. But lately, I find myself thinking about it more and more, especially with the way things are going in the world. It's not that we fight about it, she's not extreme, and we try to respect each other's views. But it's getting harder for me to reconcile how someone I love and share so much with sees things so differently when it comes to the bigger picture, like human rights, leadership, and what kind of future we want. The real reason I'm writing this is I was planning to propose this year. I've been thinking about it for a while. But now I'm starting to second-guess everything. Am I overthinking this? Or is this the kind of fundamental disconnect that could grow into something bigger over time? Has anyone else been in a relationship like this, long-term, committed, but politically divided? How did it play out? I'd really appreciate any insight. Stories number 23. AITA broke up with BF cause of his kids' violence. I, 35F, have been dating Dave, 37M, for just over 6 months. We are both divorced and have children from our previous marriages. He has 2 daughters, 3 and 8. I have an 11-year-old son. We are both amicable with our exes. Dave is a nice guy and things have been going really well until recently. As we'd hit the 6-month mark, we decided it was time to meet each other's children. All the kids knew we had partners, but at the time had not met yet. The first meeting was at my house for him to meet my son. His kids not there. They got on really well and it went great. A few days later, I met his daughters, without my son, and this also went well. As both meetings went well, we agreed that we'd introduce the kids to each other. No plans to move in with each other, just wanted them to meet so that we could enjoy days out together. This meeting took place at his house. Throughout our relationship, he described his youngest as a wild child and, jokingly, a psycho. I assumed he just meant she had a lot of energy, my son was the same at her age. Tiring, but not problematic. My assumption was very, very wrong. His eldest, the 8-year-old, is lovely. She and my son got on very well. The youngest, the 3-year-old, avoided him and refused to speak with anyone but her dad for the first 30 minutes. Okay, no big deal, she's young and maybe has moments of shyness. Out of nowhere, she ran up to my son and punched him twice in the leg. Dave spoke with her and gave her a timeout. When her timeout was finished, my son and the eldest were playing in the garden and she asked to join in, to which they said yes. Seconds into the game, she stops playing, runs over to my son, and punches him on his lower back. Again, Dave spoke with her and issued another, longer, timeout. When this timeout ended, she watched TV quietly for a bit. Dave and I were talking in the kitchen while he was making food. She crept into the kitchen and hit me on the leg hard with a stick from the garden. It was on bare skin, hurt like hell, and drew blood. I cried out in pain and shock, because I hadn't seen her coming. Dave apologized to me and gave her another talking to, this time pretty sternly, and she had another timeout. After the timeout, he followed her like a hawk and I finished cooking the food. After dinner, my son and his eldest helped clear up. They were in the kitchen and I suddenly heard my son scream. She had bitten him hard on the arm, it drew a lot of blood. When Dave and I arrived in the kitchen, the eldest daughter was trying to stop her younger sister from punching and kicking my son. My son's arm was dripping with blood and he was crying. The girl had his blood around her mouth. It was a horrifying sight. Dave was very angry with his daughter, though did not yell, and took her out of the room, and told the oldest to show me where the first aid kit was. When I finished patching him up, he brought his daughter to apologize to my son. She ran up to me and kicked me in the knee before running away laughing. I told Dave that we were leaving. He understood, and we left. That evening, when my son got out the shower, he showed me that he had bruises in addition to the bite mark. This prompted me to check my own injuries and, sure enough, I have bruises too, plus the whip mark from the stick. I took photos of all of our injuries. Dave tried calling me but I told him I needed space to think. He accepted that and didn't try to call me again that night. The following day was a school day. My son's teacher noticed the bite mark and I got a phone call about it from the safeguarding team. That night, I called Dave, and said I wanted to meet up to talk. He asked if I was going to break up with him over it, and I maintained that I wanted to talk in person. He insisted, and wouldn't let it go, so I said, okay, but you don't get to complain that I did this over the phone then. It is at your insistence. I then said yes, I am breaking up with him. Neither myself or my son are safe in his child's presence and we came home from the meeting with multiple injuries. He kept pleading that it was a one-off and that I was overreacting. Well, that did it. I hung up, sent him the photos of our injuries, and told them I'd been contacted by the school safeguarding team over it. No response. This was last week. Today he's messaged me asking to talk and keeps promising it won't happen again. He repeatedly tried to minimize the violence using her age. She's only 3. She'll grow out of it. It's just a phase, she doesn't know what she's doing. I will never get the image of her mouth dripping with my son's blood out of my mind, and I made that very clear. Now, in Dave's mind, I'm being unreasonable and unaccommodating. So, AITA here, stories number 24. That was his lap dog. When I was a kid I was given a dog. A dog that would have been really expensive if he hadn't been neutered. He had been owned by the friend of my mother, and before he was given to me he was a show dog that won best in show multiple times. Being a kid I really didn't think much about it, but later I asked how I had ended up with such a valuable prize. Well, turns out it was a bit of petty revenge. The woman who owned him was married to a man who had zero interest in dog shows. He did however love this one dog his wife showed. This best in show winning dog. A dog who was his lapdog whenever he wasn't at a show. Unfortunately for the husband, he also had no interest in being faithful to his wife. When she discovered this, she neutered the dog, gave it away, and filed for divorce. He was a great lapdog. Stories number 25. Bought a car and just received my title. My fiancé's name is first, and he didn't even sign anything. It's my car upside down face. He test drove it with me and gave them his license. I signed all the paperwork, he didn't sign anything. We made it very clear and stated several times this is my car, his name is first on the title. I don't even know what to say or do. I called the dealership and left a message stating that I need an explanation, but the only explanation I'm coming to is misogyny. I feel so ridiculous for being upset over this, but I'm going to have to spend time and money to fix this for no reason at all. Stories number 26. I abused more than $25,000 from an obvious DoorDash loophole for more than 2 years. These methods have been somewhat patched, so I thought I would share. On most delivery services, including DoorDash, there is one fatal loophole which will never be solved anytime soon. When you place an order for an item at a retail store, there is no way to ever know with certainty whether a particular item is in stock or not. In order to be fair to customers and have good customer-facing policies, they have enacted some rules around out-of-stock items. One rule that DoorDash had for years was that out-of-stock items would not affect any discounts that you accumulated on an order. So the plan is rather simple. Get a discount on an order, say $25 off $125 at a retail store promotion, and then you just need to order $100 of out-of-stock merchandise to get $25 for free. It's not exactly that way because of order fees and such, but it's very close. One day, DoorDash started adding coupons, which were either manufacturer discounts or discounts to match in-store pricing. These coupons were completely different than promotional codes in that they were unlimited use and were attached to any order with said products in your cart. It first started by manufacturers offering discounts on products around holidays like Super Bowl, Valentine's, Easter, Halloween, Thanksgiving, etc. What these coupons allowed you to do was rack up a discount on an order, typically around $20, and you could place an unlimited number of orders with this $20 discount. Really, it seemed to be about 30 orders per day before DoorDash would throw some errors. DoorDash website was also very glitchy when having 30 active orders going. All you had to do was find an out-of-stock item in each coupon category, i.e. Hershey's candy, Hormel lunch meat, etc., and capitalize on the discount. You could get $500 in free groceries in one day easily. It was most lucrative around Super Bowl since Super Bowl Valentine's Day were the same week. It got even better because one day Dollar General decided to match the in-store pricing of their sodas. They were typically buy 3 for $15, which when using the coupon the maximum allowed 3x per order, 9 cases of soda, resulted in $25 off per flavor of soda. This means with 8 out-of-stock sodas, you could get a theoretical $200 off per order or up to $6,000 in a single day. Best part is many flavors of obscure sodas. Dollar General stocked a maximum of 4 cases at a time, meaning you could buy out sodas without spending a dime. Dollar General did not restock sodas for 2 weeks. When these $0 orders arrive to your house, best part is, if any items were incorrect from what you ordered, DoorDash would refund you in full cash price for the incorrect items. Sometimes they would also give you credit too for such mistakes. You could earn money just by placing large volumes of orders as not every order will be correct. The largest discount I ever saw racked up using this coupon method was a $600 discount at the vitamin shop. I suspect this method remained active for so long because it was hidden under too many layers. The stores were being paid so they likely never noticed or cared. Method 2. This was a second, lesser, method I tested but never used at any scale since I assumed it was fraud. DoorDash often has items listed on the app which are an incorrect price. When you order said items, if the real item's price is too different from the price listed on DoorDash, the Dasher's card will not allow you to buy said item. It will fail due to having insufficient funds. What you can do is use out-of-stock items to pre-authorize the Dasher's card high enough to let you buy the items. One such time was an item that was incorrectly listed at Dick's Sporting Goods for $5.99 and the picture of said item made it appear as if I could have any item in the picture. One of the items was $45.99. What I did was pre-authorize the shopper's card for $400, buy the $5.99 item as much as they had in stock, and return it for store credit, as the banner on the Dick's Sporting Goods page made it appear like it was allowed. I asked the Dasher for the receipt, explained my situation at the store and the store worker refunded the $300 cash straight onto my card. Edit. 30 orders on DoorDash, retail, takes about 1.25 hours to be delivered. It definitely clogs up DoorDash and consumes a lot of Dashers to do it, but it goes surprisingly smooth. Even with no tip, Dashers can be paid a surprising amount of money to fetch some of these. I've heard of Dashers making $20 for 15 minutes of work and going back to the store to get more of my orders. Unfortunately, some Dashers can shop your order in under 10 minutes and some take 1 hour to do the same work. Some Dashers have better skills than others at using the app and buying items for you. Most orders I ever placed in 1 week was about 200. My Dash Pass savings screen shows over $15,000, which is pretty damn high considering how little I have spent on DoorDash. The most expensive item at a Dollar General seems to be propane tanks. I think they are $65 with tax, full price and not exchange. I got maybe 10 of those, but it took forever as most Dashers do not know how to buy them. I calculated it is possible to get over $120,000 of free stuff in 1 month. It would be theoretically possible to almost empty a Dollar General, which would be hilarious. One of the best deals without any abuse of loopholes was Cheesecake Factory. Cheesecake Factory has in-store pricing and some of their cheesecakes were mispriced at $7.50. There was also a deal which was $5 off with Coke Zero and $3 off for no rush delivery. I would buy DoorDash gift cards at 20 to 25% off, order a kid's meal entree which included Coke Zero for free, $5, and then the cheesecake for $7.50. In the end, a kid's meal with free bread included, a Coke Zero and a large slice of cheesecake was something like $7 delivered. Stories number 27. AITA for telling my dad he has to decide between me attending his wedding and accepting I won't take part in the family unity ceremony or accept I won't be there. My dad's engaged to his partner of 2-ish years. They moved in together last month and their wedding is in December. 17 dad's only bio kid. His almost wife has 3 kids of her own. Her kids are younger, like under 10, maybe they're even all under 8, I'm not that sure. They decided they want to do a family unity ceremony and have it be about becoming one family instead of the 2 of them being a married couple. His future stepkids are excited by the idea and want to take part. I don't and won't take part. I already explained to him that I'm not interested and can't be talked into it. He asked me why and pushed for me to reconsider. He told his wife and she's freaking out because her kids have this idea that they'll get a big brother out of this marriage, and my dad and her told the kids will be real siblings once the two of them are married. All of this despite the fact I really don't know her or her kids. I have really only spent any real time with the kids twice, and it was more me trying not to be a dick than me wanting to spend time or get to know them. I think that, and I think that's obvious because I don't know their actual ages. Some background to explain some relationship dynamics because I'm sure there are questions. My dad raised me alone. My mom took off when I was less than a year old. I don't remember her. I don't remember her being around. Her family wasn't around or in my life either. I didn't have a lot of family besides my dad growing up. Except for one of his siblings. And for most of my life Dad was a good dad. But when I was maybe 11 he started preparing me for the fact he wanted his own life and travel the world when I turned 18 and I'd be on my own. He talked about how I should not expect to see him very often and to expect we might not see each other for years sometimes, and how he doesn't want to be tied down until he dies. That he would call or answer calls when he wasn't busy with life. He said some stuff that made me believe he resented the fact he raised me alone and had to change his life for me. He never actually let up on that. He talked about it so much that we started to fight and I told him I got it and he was done being a dad at 18 and he told me I was being dramatic. I argued that he told me I could go 5 or maybe even more years without seeing him and he didn't want to be tied down. That he might even ignore calls so he could live life. I told him that sounded like he wanted to stop being a dad. He told me I focused on the wrong parts. When we argued about it other times he said that he wanted the life he missed out on and he wasn't waiting around for me to be ready. That I'd land on my feet eventually and I wouldn't be his kid anymore, I'd be his peer. Which he then said I picked up wrong. But basically for years I have been prepared to leave at 18 and not have my dad in it. Then he met his almost wife and all that talk about traveling the world was gone. He started to become a dad to her kids. He was spending time with them and building a life with them. Eventually he tried to include me, but that was only really in the last 4 or 5 months. But I've ignored it. I did babysit twice for them. Once when his almost wife was rushed to hospital and the second time when his almost wife had a follow-up surgery for health issues she has. My dad has tried to argue that our family is growing and I should be trying harder to be included in it. I told him that won't happen. And if he wants whatever half-assed relationship he planned to have with me before then he needs to accept that. That I'll come to his wedding if he wants me there, as long as he accepts I won't be a part of that ceremony, and if he can't accept it then I won't go and he'll need to accept that. His almost wife heard us talk it out and she said I'm not taking the 11 good years into it and I'm punishing her children for my dad not being perfect and that isn't fair to them. She told me a good person would be glad dad decided to stick around and love the new people, especially the kids, and want better for them. Ida. And for full disclosure I have about a month to go until I'm 18 and my plan is to move out that day. Stories number 28. GF going to Portugal with another guy. Hey everyone, my GF, F23, and I, M24, have been seriously dating since November. We originally dated when I was fresh out of high school, and have spent 4 summers together, which always ended in her leaving me for school, or traveling. She is an avid traveler and has been all over the world. I like to travel but I don't crave it like her. The farthest I have been is to Las Vegas with her this New Year's. We had a good trip, but we did argue some and she has since referenced the trip when arguing, basically saying she didn't have the best time and we aren't compatible on trips. Anyways, my GF is a math teacher now, and with spring break coming up, I invited her to come to my family for the week to Myrtle Beach. She told me no because she's not a Myrtle girl and because it's just going to be a drunk fest on the beach. I was upset but didn't really say anything. A few weeks go by, and she mentions that she is planning on going to Portugal with a guy she met on her Europe trip over the summer. I was obviously very confused and upset, as her Europe trip really hurt me this summer. We were basically together when she left and she slept around and got a literal boyfriend while there. Anyways, I told her how upset that makes me, but she seems to be making me feel like I'm crazy for not wanting her to go on the trip. She tells me that our 20s are the time to do extravagant things in life and that traveling will always be her #1 priority. I love that she has something she cares about so much, but I don't understand why we can't compromise. She didn't want me to go on the trip because she said we weren't compatible in Vegas, and also I don't have a passport and it wouldn't come in time. But, why couldn't she come with me to Myrtle and then we plan a Portugal trip in the summer with us? IDK, I don't want to seem insecure but it is hard to wrap my head around my GF spending a week in another country with another man. She promises me she will be loyal, but in my head if a girl asked me to go on a vacation to Portugal for a week, I would think there is something there and it kills me that this guy probably thinks he has a chance with my GF. It just seems like a horrible situation and it has been weighing on me heavy. Everyone that I have reached out to about this tells me that I need to leave her, and it is crazy, but I don't want to leave her. She is my best friend, I love her a ton, and she does make most every day awesome for me. I am just torn, do I break up with her? I already have said to her that I can't be with a girl who is going on a trip with another guy and that I don't want to break up for a week and get back together. However, I was just saying this to kind of get her to say okay I won't go, but that did not happen and we just fought instead, and it ended up with me saying I was fine with the trip. Or do I support her trip fully? Like I really want to do that, I am just so insecure and anxious about the situation. I am just worried that I need to respect myself more, and if I keep letting stuff like this slide I can't imagine what would happen in the future. I'd love to hear thoughts on the situation and advice. I appreciate you all, and hope your lives are blessed. Thank you all. Stories number 29. AITA for putting a gold star sticker on my cousin's forehead and saying, "Good job, just like Mrs. Rachel." So ever since I was a kid, whatever needs to be done, I do it. Whatever my parents would ask me to do, I would do it. My cousin did not have to do much, because they had housemaids. Anyway, my aunt, who is my godmother, always get this competitiveness when it came to us, and more often than not, would judge me for some things. She would always act like her daughter looks and acts better than me, when in reality, her daughter was a damn entitled bully behind closed doors. Whenever I told my grandma, she would always say, "Just ignore her," or "Be the better person." My cousin would grab her toys from me when I was at their house, swearing at me, and at our house, she would grab my toys from me. I would then tell my grandma, and she would try to keep the peace, and tell me to just share my toys. Because our birthdays are 2 days apart, hers before mine, they would always wait to see what I bought my cousin, so they could buy me the exact same thing, just so we don't spend more than you, her mom's words. Since then, me and my cousin's relationship got better, and now we're pretty close. We're both teachers now, and being a teacher is a lot of work. My cousin goes to work, goes home, prepares for the next day, and that's that. I, however, go to work, and when I go back home, I must prepare for the next day, cook, clean, sometimes do laundry, etc. It's exhausting. Despite all of that, me and cousin has a pretty good relationship and I love her. So last week, my aunts and cousins came over, and we were kinda just having a chill day. Grandma and my mom was also there. I thought, oh, since I do nothing, I would fold my laundry while we're talking. While I was folding my laundry, my aunt looked at me, and then to my cousin. I think she had a light bulb moment, because she said with the biggest grin, "Oh, cousin helped me with my laundry the other day, she's so overworked but she helped me, I'm so proud of her, aren't you guys proud of her?" Everyone just mumbled sure, I guess, yeah, ECT. So I got up, went to my teacher bag, grabbed my sticker book, and went back to them. I then took a gold star sticker, and put it on my cousin's head, jumping up and down saying, "Good job," just like Mrs. Rachel would. Everyone went quiet, but then my cousin bursts out laughing. And everyone laughed. My cousin said in a playful tone, "Bitch," and I kissed her on the cheek. Her mom, though, was pissed. She called me a jealous petty asshole. I told her it was just a light-hearted joke, but she took her stuff, and told my cousin to get up cause they're leaving. Was I the asshole for doing that? Stories number 30. My long-distance boyfriend physically assaulted me when I tried to end things, now he's apologizing and I don't know what to do. I'm a female, 22, and he is 27. We've been in a long-distance relationship for the past 3.5 years. This new year, which also happened to be his birthday, my boyfriend traveled over 12 hours just to see me. Things had already been rocky between us for the last 1 to 2 months, mostly because I wasn't able to give him as much time. I work full-time, return home by 10 p.m., and by midnight I'm exhausted. Because of this, our communication reduced a lot, and every time we did talk, we ended up fighting. He would often accuse me of cheating on him, even though I never gave him a reason to. He's always been quite insecure, but this time it crossed a line. When he came to visit, the first thing he did was start checking my phone. He questioned me about chatting with other guys and accused me again of cheating, which I wasn't. I had also hidden one of my Instagram stories from him, which I now realize was immature. It wasn't even anything suspicious, just a story with a female friend, but we had fought earlier so I just didn't want to deal with more arguments. When he saw that I'd hidden the story, he got furious. We sat down, and I told him I didn't think this relationship was working anymore, it had gotten too toxic and I wanted to break up. That's when he snapped. He slapped me twice, threw my bag out, verbally abused me, and left. I called the police, but he ran away and I thought of not filing any case against him. Now, after 2 months of no contact, he's come back. He's been crying, begging for another chance. He's told his entire family about what happened. His mom and sister have both reached out, apologizing on his behalf, saying he's truly remorseful. He even called my mom to apologize and says he will start therapy. But I'm terrified. I don't know if I should forgive him. A part of me feels guilt, but a bigger part is just scared. I've tolerated verbal abuse before, but this was physical. I don't know what to do. Stories number 31. Should I tell people we got legally married before the real wedding? My 30F fiancé, 34M, and I have our church wedding planned for the spring of 2026. However, we are purchasing a house this summer and plan to get legally married right before closing for tax benefits, combining finances, insurance, etc. Reddit Hive, I want your opinion. Should we tell people we are got legally married? Or would people feel like they got cheated because they were only invited to the church wedding next spring, so we should keep it a secret? We're only having our parents, not siblings, at the legal wedding since my family is huge and extremely dramatic and out of state, so they would likely only come for one of the weddings and I want them at the big one in the spring. What should we do? Stories number 32. One date and then he ghosted me. And I still have his sweatshirt. As the title says, I, 30F, am currently on vacation in Florida. Regardless of what people say about the state, I love Florida. Well, the mostly cause of the beaches and the ocean. Anyways, second day of vacation, Tuesday, I meet this really cute guy. Long story short, we hit it off and exchanged numbers and planned to go out later that night. The date was great. We went to a restaurant, talked and laughed as much as we could with the live singer in background. Walked around the area, went back to his truck and he gave me his sweatshirt. I've forgotten how cold it can get at night. We continued on walking on the beach, holding hands, talking, making out a little. Got lost in the parking garage trying to find his truck. Honestly, I did not want to say goodbye. It felt like it was straight out of a Hallmark movie. Something I've never really experienced. I just had such a great time with him. And I thought he felt the same way. We even made plans to see each other the next night, Wednesday. So Wednesday rolls around. He had something going on in the morning afternoon, so we planned to meet up in the evening. I just send him a quick text around 1:30 just seeing how he's doing. He texts back at 5:30 saying something came up and he won't be able to make it. After a little back and forth he says there might be a chance that it could change and we go still out. That was at like 6:30. After that I got no response back at all. I texted and called a couple of times to see if there was an update or if he was okay. To this moment, Thursday 8:22 a.m., I have not heard back from him at all. No text, no nothing. I did text him saying that I'm leaving today and unless he contacts me, that I'm keeping his sweatshirt lol. All in all, I just wish he would have contacted me one way or another. Stories number 33. Caught her cheating after 8 years together. At first I thought it was just a breakdown. Now I'm not sure I was ever anything real to her. Writing this because I honestly don't have anyone to talk to about it. I have friends, yeah, but they're either married, far away, or just wouldn't really get it. Can't exactly tell this to my parents either. I'm 34. We were together for 8 years. Met at work. I had just started in tech support at a big company, she was in a different department. At first we just chatted during lunch breaks, then started hanging out after shifts. She wasn't some movie perfect girl, but she was real. Down to earth, calm, didn't freak out over small stuff. Loved old comedies, hated spicy food, laughed out loud at dumb TV shows. Back then I was renting a tiny one-bedroom, she still lived with her parents. A year in, she moved in with me. 2 years later, we got a place together with a mortgage. Everything was moving like it's supposed to. Kids. We talked about it. She'd say, not yet, maybe later. I didn't push. We both worked, took vacations once a year, made coffee on weekends, talked about saving up for a new car. It was normal. Sure, we fought. Everyone does. I could be distant, she could be sharp. But we always made up. Slept next to each other, she'd kiss my forehead to wake me up in the mornings. I thought we were solid. Then, last November, things started shifting. I was working remotely, she was back at the office after COVID. Started staying late, saying there was a new project, a demanding boss. I believed her, but I started noticing her phone was always in her hands, smiling at messages, hiding conversations. One time I half joked, "Who's keeping you so entertained over there?" She just said, "A coworker, he sends dumb memes." I let it go. Then one day she left her phone on the table while I was getting ready for a shower. It buzzed. I didn't mean to, but I saw the name. Not someone I knew. Message had a smiley. I didn't touch it, just remembered the name. Later, I googled it. Matched a local marketing coach from another city. A week later, she says she's going on a weekend training in that same city. That's when my stomach dropped. No panic, just this cold, sinking feeling. I said, okay, sure, go. Took a day off work, drove there myself. Sat in my car. That evening I watched her walk out of a hotel with the guy. Holding hands. I didn't confront her. Just drove back, didn't sleep all night. Next morning, packed a bag, left a note. I saw you. Don't call. Don't text. I need time. She called that same night. Then again. I didn't answer. Couple days later I went back to get more stuff. She was in the kitchen, sitting in the corner, crying, trying to say something. I just said, don't. It's done. It's been 4 months now. She messages sometimes. Says she was in a bad place, looking for support, didn't mean to destroy anything. Says the guy didn't work out. That he wasn't who he seemed to be. And I'm sitting here thinking, how does that even work? 8 years. Shared bills, a home, vacations, nights she got sick and I stayed up, nights I was anxious and she held my hand. And all that can just be dropped for a weekend with a stranger. I'm living with my brother now. Working. Surviving. I guess I'm okay, but sometimes I'm standing in the grocery store, holding a loaf of bread, and it hits me, I don't even know who I am anymore. I really thought I had a home. Anyway. Just needed to get this out. Upped. Thank you all for the kind words and support. This is still a tough time, and honestly, I'm not sure how I'm getting through it. But reading through your comments really helps. It's comforting to know there are people who understand, even if they haven't been through the same exact thing. I'm still working through a lot of emotions, but I'm starting to accept everything and figure out what comes next. It's hard, but I know this is part of the process. Thanks again to everyone who reached out. You make this a little easier. I'll keep pushing forward. Stories number 34. I got placed with 3 male roommates and I don't know what to do. For some context, I've been raised in a single mother, female-only household for my entire life up to this point. I start college in a couple of months, I received my housing assignment and I don't know what to do. When I filled out the form for housing assignments, I said that I was fine with gender-inclusive housing, because I am. However, what I did not expect was to be placed in an apartment with 3 male roommates. That isn't the issue, with only 2 bedrooms, meaning I have to share both a bedroom and bathroom with one of these people. I have zero problem sharing a living space with male roommates, but not having my own room is where I have a problem. Furthermore, I haven't met any of my assigned roommates and have zero clue who these people are. I don't know what to do, I'm not comfortable with this living situation at all. Imagine being told that, not only, you're going to be the only woman in the apartment, but also have to share any semblance of a private space you have. I don't have a problem with men, but I have faced abuse and harassment from men in the past. As stated, I don't know these people nor how they view women and living with sharing a room with a woman. I feel deeply unsafe with my current situation based off the fact I cannot judge these people's characters before being fully committed to living with them. As much as I'd like to think, their people are normal well-adjusted members of society, that don't have any heinous feelings or alternate motives towards women, I cannot confirm that. Any advice? Update, I've contacted housing, and they pulled the "you said you were okay with gender-inclusive housing" card, but after some pushing I was told they'll see what they can do, so, kind of at a crossroads. Stories number 35. Wibta if I told her she cannot sleep at my apartment anymore. In 6 weeks, a friend will be staying over for a night after her work trip. Since she moved over 500 kilometers away, we don't see each other that often anymore, so when she asked, I said yes. I also visited her before, so of course, I'd let her stay. I suggested things we could do and she said she doesn't know yet, she wants to visit her old roommates but also texted 2 other people who haven't replied yet. So basically if they don't answer we can do something. Honestly, I feel used. She doesn't plan to spend any time with me but sleep at my apartment. I thought she wanted to meet up with as many people as possible, but I thought we'd also spend some time together. And if we only have coffee when she arrives, but she made it quite clear how spending time with me was the least of her priorities. But honestly, I'm not surprised. When I visited her last summer it was a very unpleasant experience and I already questioned the friendship back then. I don't want to be used for a free place to sleep. She makes enough money to stay at a hotel. We're not in uni anymore. Wibta if I told her something came up and she can't stay at my place anymore. Stories number 36. Tafu by loudly exclaiming, I'm deaf, in front of a bunch of ASL interpreters. God, I am just mortified. I was attending a conference and also helping organize. I was sitting near the back of the room and we were doing sound checks. I always find I need things to be a bit louder and I kept indicating to turn it up. Eventually they stopped turning it up because they thought it would be too loud, which I then responded by saying, yes, it could just be me, I'm deaf. Evidently I am a hearing person who is very much not deaf. All of the ASL interpreters whipped their heads around and I realized what I had just done. I was so mortified that I just immediately got myself busy moving chairs, avoiding everyone. This was definitely a realization about using a disability as an adjective, and I certainly will not do this again in the future. I am always very mindful about how others will perceive what I say because I care very much, and this just slipped out before I could even realize. Nobody said anything to me, but I've sat in shame for quite some time. TLDR, I used being deaf as an expression. I am not deaf, I just couldn't hear the speaker, in front of a bunch of ASL interpreters like a fool. Stories number 37. AITA for laughing and enjoying hearing my sister talk about her MIL hating her. My sister, 29F, and I, 26F, don't get along. For most of my life she has belittled me, and during our childhood she was the primary bully in my life. I had others in school, and I struggled socially. My parents weren't good either, and they let it happen. But my sister always saw me as not deserving of anything good. She talked like me having a single friend was too hard to believe and that I didn't deserve it. She called me unlovable and said no guy would ever want me. She was always the first to laugh when kids at school bullied me or when it was talked about around others. There were times she defended people excluding me, saying nobody wanted that thing, hanging out with them or on their team. There were never any good sisterly moments, and the best days were ones where she was busy with something or someone else to notice me. I have seen her twice in the last 8 years, excluding this current incident, and both times she was just as awful. The second time was while I was engaged to my husband and she disparaged me and attempted to convince my husband he was better off without me. She found a lot of joy in imagining his family, specifically his mother, hating me. And I admit that before that time and before I met my ILs, I was worried given my track record. But I have a wonderful relationship with my ILs, and my husband's parents, MIL included, are like the parents I didn't get to have growing up. They're wonderful. My sister is also married, and I saw her at a party at our grandparents' place over the weekend. I heard her talk about how much her MIL hates her, and she was telling some cousins how she can't do anything right by her MIL standards, how MIL wants her and her husband to divorce, how she's the outsider and judged for every single thing she does. How her MIL has insulted her. And I loved hearing it. At one point I even started laughing with my husband about it because of how much I enjoyed it and how good it felt for her to experience some of the things she wished on me. My sister saw us laughing and she stormed over to ask what we found so funny, and we were like, oh nothing, and moved away, but she acted up and got thrown out by our grandparents, who told her was wrong to start a fight over anything after how she treated me. They told her they gave her more chances than our parents because she wasn't taught better by our parents, but that she was reacting like that to laughing when she has repeatedly laughed about much worse and said and done much worse to me. And that she would laugh into my face while I was laughing with my husband. My sister was not expecting our grandparents to take my side. I told my grandparents how much I appreciated them for doing that. And I do. Still do. But an aunt said I was wrong, and so were my grandparents. She said we all know how my sister is, and if I want to be better I shouldn't laugh at misfortune happening to my sister. Then she told me I could have been a better sister to her and supported her instead of laughing. And I argued with my aunt over it, but she remained firm and said I really got to my sister. The way she was so sure I was wrong made me doubt myself a little, and I don't know if that's old issues resurfacing or not. AITA. Stories number 38. Grabbing my thighs on our first date after I said no. I'm still shaken. I'm 36F. I went on a first date recently, and parts of it have been sitting with me in a really unsettling way. During dinner, he asked if he could sit next to me. I said I'd rather stay across from each other, but he moved beside me anyway. Not long after, he started grabbing and touching my thighs, even reaching into the holes in my jeans. I felt frozen, unsure of how to respond in the moment. When I didn't react positively, he said, I'm doing this to make you feel comfortable, which felt manipulative and confusing. He continued touching me anyway. Later, he pressured me to drink even after I said I wasn't much of a drinker. He gave me what felt like cold or punishing looks when I didn't finish my food. He tried to kiss me, and when I said no, he said, you're going to reject me in front of all these people. Throughout the evening, he kept grabbing and kissing my hands in a way that might look affectionate to an outsider, but felt invasive and overwhelming to me. I'm upset with myself for not walking away. I hate that I froze. I keep replaying it and wondering if I'm overreacting, but I walked away from that date feeling violated, foggy, and ashamed. I'm trying to stop gaslighting myself about it. I just needed to get this out of my system. Thank you for reading. Stories number 39. I owe to the fact that the American government just openly disappeared 200 people. Am I overreacting, or is everyone else seriously underreacting to the fact that the American government just openly disappeared 200 people? They literally just sent people to the gulag without so much as a show trial. The Soviets had show trials. Am I correctly understanding that they didn't get so much as a hearing, just get on the plane and you're gone? And the media calling it being deported and focusing on the one guy who was mistakenly disappeared as if it was okay to deliberately disappear people. So I only read a few articles about it and might not have all the facts. Do we even know who the rest of the people are? Did they give any information out at all, about sentences or trials? Or maybe even charges? They just threw 200 people to the oubliettes and they're too good to explain themselves, and the Supreme Court needs to deliberate on whether or not it's legal to mistakenly disappear someone and then refuse to bring him back. I guess deliberately disappearing people is obviously legal. Stories number 40. AITA for refusing to let my parents move in with us. I, 38M, have been married to my wife, 36F, for almost 10 years. We bought our home a few years ago and have 2 kids, 6 and 4. Things have been going well, we both work, we've made the house feel like our own, and we finally have a decent routine. Recently, my parents, mid-60s, announced they're selling their house to Simplify and asked if they could move in with us for a little while. They said it would be just until they figure out their next steps, maybe 6 to 12 months max. The problem is, I know my parents. A little while could easily turn into forever. They don't get along with my wife that well, they have very different lifestyle habits, and they tend to be overbearing when it comes to our kids. They also don't believe in boundaries, like, at all. Our house isn't that big. We'd lose the only guest room and likely our sanity. My wife is already anxious just thinking about it. I told them no. I tried to be gentle and said we just don't have the space and need to keep our home private. My mom acted like I slapped her. She cried, told me I was abandoning them in their old age, and said she never thought her own son would turn his back on them. My dad didn't say much, but he clearly agrees with her. Now they're giving me the cold shoulder, and a few extended family members have messaged me saying, family comes first, and that I should step up. But I really don't think this would be healthy for anyone, not for me, my wife, our kids, or even my parents. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my parents move in with us. Stories number 41. AITA for telling my boyfriend mom that I would cover or remove my tattoo of a man's name. For context, I, 21F, have a tattoo of my died family members' names on my shoulder. I also have other tattoos on my body, again also could be hidden by clothing. My boyfriend family has known me for a few years and I expect to his mother that I have tattoos. She was very kind about it and I had even showed her a few of them. My boyfriend, 23M, took me out to a restaurant that was near a beach. I was wearing what I would call a beach outfit, of course that means you could see my shoulders. My boyfriend took a picture of me and posted it. My shoulder tattoos were visible and you could see a few names of my family members and next to one of them had a heart and a mushroom. The next day I had to meet up with my boyfriend and his family for dinner. During the dinner his mother asked me about the tattoos and I showed her, then proceeded to ask me to remove and or cover one of them up with makeup. I was shocked as she points at the on with the heart and mushroom next to it. As it insinuate that I might still be in love with this man as he is the only one that doesn't have a last name next to it instead. I tried explaining that the name is of my died brother who died 4 years ago and the heart was that I missed him and the mushroom was also tattooed because he loved them growing up. But she kept interrupting me and even look at my boyfriend saying that he should have dated me seeing that I had tattoo of another man's name on my body instead of his. This is where I think I might be the asshole. I had just walked out of the house immediately after she said that, saying that maybe she would know why I have another man's name on my body, instead of my boyfriend, since that name has more meaning than she actually thinks. After walking out I just drove to my brother's grave that is an hour away from where I live. My boyfriend had texted me throughout the time I was driving. I had just sent me my location so he wouldn't go to my parents' house looking for me. A few hours after arriving he had called me saying that he just had an argument with his mom and I had felt like it was my fault for him having to argue with her because of me and if my parents didn't mind to stay at my house just until his parents calmed down. It's been a week since that incident and his mom finally agreed to have a conversation with me and even agreed to have the conversation with my boyfriend in the room. I explained to her that it was my brother's name, I had it since I had turned 18, would not be covering it up with makeup or even consider removing it. I didn't show her due to the fact everyone always feels pity for me, even ask me how he died, and that is why I don't have a date under his to his name. She argued with me that telling her would have been easier and making more excuses for her actions. My boyfriend and a few of our close friends are on my side, but his family and other friends agree that I should have told her that it was a tattoo of my brother's name. So AITA. Stories number 42. Do guys really think that some girls are just to have fun with? My male cousin and I, female, were at a party the other day and were chatting with another guy. We were talking about relationships and out of the blue he said that girls like me are only meant for having fun. My cousin is way older than me, so we haven't interacted much with each other, so this caught me off guard, but at the same time made me think how what he said has been my life experience. My cousin is a shitty person, however I do wonder if this is how some men actually think. So do men actually think like that? Edit, I didn't expect this to receive so many replies. So let me clarify some things. That day was the first time that my cousin and I really interacted with each other, so he doesn't know anything about my life. I'm a very private person, especially towards my family. My cousin is the type of guy that likes to sleep around and doesn't take relationships serious. He likes girls who never question who. So I didn't take what he said to heart, but his comment did make me realize that I have been treated that way before. However, I am a very loyal, loving girl that has never slept around before. Stories number 43. AITA for saying, okay, when my mom's husband said he won't be coming to my wedding, I, 29F, was supposed to be getting married last year, but my dad died days before the wedding and I couldn't go through with it. Luckily the venue we had chosen were willing to reschedule us at short notice on compassionate grounds. Our new wedding date is this summer. My mom's husband announced a couple of weekends ago that he won't be coming to my wedding. I said okay and moved on in the conversation I was having with someone else. He was seething with rage over my response and asked me if okay was really all I could say. No question about why or trying to change his mind. I told him I had expected this and he basically told me he'd do this last year anyway, so why would I pretend to be shocked or beg? To provide some more context, my mom married her husband when I was 15. I didn't get to know him before the wedding, so I met him at 15. I don't consider him a father figure and I never called him my stepdad. My older siblings felt the same way. He never put much effort in with them because they were 18 and 21 when he married mom, so I guess he felt like they were fine without him. But it always felt kinda weird because I wasn't some little kid either and I had an involved dad. Last year added some tension. He ended up in the hospital 2 weeks before the wedding and would not have made it if the day had gone ahead then. He was bitter that I rescheduled because dad died, but not so he could be there. There were also some hard feelings over me planning to walk down the aisle and dance with dad and not him. He bitched about it a few weeks after dad died and said he wouldn't come if he was so unimportant. At the time I said nothing because my grief was fresh, but now I'm just like okay. Because I don't care if he's there or not. I really don't. His presence will not make or break my wedding. He felt like I should have argued for him to come and mom said my okay was dismissive and rude. Stories number 44. My friend was dishonorably discharged for being transgender, and now no one can get a hold of them. I, 22M, am in the army. Because of recent policy changes, due to a certain someone in charge of those policies, being transgender is no longer allowed in the military to any degree. One of my close friends stopped showing up to work the other day, and they weren't responding to anyone's texts. As it turns out, they had a private Instagram account, on which they presented as a woman. I don't know how, but one of our higher-ups found this account and went through it. Then, higher-up questioned them about it, and they were then told not to return to work and that they would be dishonorably discharged. They presented as the gender they were assigned at birth, as a man, at work. Literally none of us knew them as anything other than that. And none of us ever would have guessed. When they were questioned about it, they confessed that they felt more comfortable presenting as a woman, but that they knew that it could affect their career, so they kept it completely separate and only presented in a feminine way in their free time. When I asked where my friend had been since they hadn't been at work, our higher-up completely outed them to our entire company. The entire company that had no idea. They enjoyed being in the army, and they were good at it. They planned to be in for as long as they could because this was their entire career plan. Because of a stupid, pointless policy, they were dropped on their ass with absolutely nothing. They lived in the barracks, so now they're kicked out of their home as well. Now, I can't get a hold of them. None of us know which barracks room or building they were in, so if they gave them time to figure out their living situation, we don't know where they would be to go check on them. And we don't even know if they'd still be there. There's not much we can do, as far as narrowing things down either. The base I'm stationed at is horribly disorganized. People who live in barracks are supposed to live in the buildings that are across the street from their company. Here, they don't do that. They put people in whatever barracks building with no rhyme or reason, despite there being many open rooms in the barracks they should be in. I understand them not wanting to talk to anyone right now, they're probably hurt, lost, confused even. But I'm getting worried and all I want to know is that my friend is okay. I wrote this here as a way to rant, almost. We aren't allowed to actually say anything negative about the president, but God do I hate him. And just to say, I did use they them pronouns here, because I didn't really know what was right to use. I've always known them as he him, in their free time they use she her. I just felt like they them might have been the middle ground in this situation. Edit, I've commented this many of times, but since comments aren't really getting through, I'll put it here. It may not be dishonorable after all. Maybe it is a general discharge. When I asked, we were all told that they were getting dishonorable. Our command throws around dishonorable, and they're the only command I've had, along with many others. People who are currently going through the process of being discharged are in fact being told they're being dishonorably discharged beforehand, and they threaten it to the rest of us. We were told that a girl in our company is getting dishonorably discharged for writing profiles. Another friend of mine was threatened with it for not showing up to PT. I tried standing up for someone who was being hazed and our 1SG told me he'd make it his personal mission to get me a dishonorable. People have said to go to the IG, and several have us tried. I've been trying to get knee surgery for a torn ligament for 2 years and my command would have me cancel appointments for an extremely long time. Dealing with that in the beginning was the first time I tried getting a hold of the IG, and they simply didn't answer any of my calls or emails. I tried finding out where their office was to speak to them in person, and that also got me nowhere. Others have tried to talk to the IG about issues they're facing, and they got the same treatment. Our company also has no form of guardian or advocate. We don't have anyone to go to when we feel we're being treated wrong. If we report things to our command, they don't do anything, they tell the higher-up that we're reporting, then that higher-up spends an entire day smoking us. I got put on details on my birthday, my wife's birthday, and all of Easter weekend because of the hazing thing I mentioned before. And no, we don't know what barracks room they're in. I don't live in the barracks, and I'm not my friend's higher up, so barracks managers aren't going to just hand me where they are. Maybe things were different before, but welcome to the treatment of an 11B at my base. There's a reason suicides are at an all-time high here. Stories number 45. AITA for pulling away from my dad after my half-sister died. Some background context to start with. My parents are divorced. I'm 17. My younger sister died 11 years ago, which was a part of why my parents divorced. They shared custody of me after the divorce and my dad remarried and had a daughter with his wife last year. They had to get a lot of fertility treatments to have her and she was their last chance for that. There are no more options for them to have bio kids. Right after my half-sister died my dad told Mom he was going to bury her with my sister. Mom said no. Dad was like, don't try to stop this, you would be a monster to do that, and Mom said she was not letting his daughter get buried with hers. They fought about it and Dad tried to get me to fight Mom about this on his behalf. I refused and he didn't let up, so I stopped going to his house. It's been 10 days and from what I know Dad and his wife are still in limbo and my half-sister hasn't had her funeral yet. My dad's blaming Mom for me abandoning him in his grief. I've told him it was his actions that made me stop going. He said it's not like I care anyway and I haven't cried once or acted like I care where she goes either way. Then he said I owed him more than this. How he's always been a good dad and he's suffering and his second marriage might fall apart and he doesn't have his only living kid there. I didn't respond to that and I stopped the call, so he texted me like 50 times that night asking how I could abandon him and stuff. Pulling away has felt right to me. I don't really want to be put in the middle by Dad, and things between him and his wife are weird right now, so it means I'm avoiding that too. But maybe I'm selfish. AITA. Stories number 46. I'm paying to be thin, and I want to do this forever. I'm taking Mounjaro on a private prescription in the UK. At my current dose, it's costing me £150 a month. My weight has yo-yoed since my early teens. At one point, I was so drastically underweight that my period stopped. At another, at my heaviest, I was over 200 pounds and obese. My wardrobe is bursting with clothes that range from a size 8 to a size 16, that I can't throw out because they're in constant rotation. I've seen every weight on a wide spectrum. I've experienced every weight comment from friends, family and strangers that you can think of. I've felt every emotion from elation and pride, to crippling shame and suicidal thoughts. I've done every diet, I've done the calorie counting and rigorous exercise programs, I've done the self-care and the self-doubt, I've gotten the results and reneged on them over and over again, I've done everything and nothing at all, and thanks to Mounjaro, at age 31, I am finally done with all of it. I cannot express enough how much of a miracle this medication has been for me. It's like injecting a mind control drug. I have diagnosed autism, and probably undiagnosed ADHD, and the stability this has given to my mental health, which is directly tied to my weight, is actually difficult to believe, even after 6 months. I'm even keeled. I never think about food. I never think about my weight. I eat healthy without trying. I exercise because I want to, when I want to, and enjoy it. My anxiety was crippling before I started, and now it's manageable. For this first time in my life, I feel normal. It's astonishing. I've been at my goal weight for a while now, so my husband asked me when I'm coming off MJ and he was shocked when I told him I'm planning on taking it forever. I don't care if it's expensive, or what future health issues may arise, they are new treatments with unknown factors, but if I found out down the road this medication had ruined me somehow, I wouldn't care. It would be worth it. We were fence-sitting about kids, but not being able to stay on the prescription whilst pregnant is a major reason as to why I'm now heavily leaning towards no, word is it's less effective if you stop and restart. I have autism, and work is burning me out. I was thinking about dropping down my hours, or changing jobs to something less stressful, but honestly now I can't afford to. Even that is worth it. I have no real side effects to speak of, except I can't really drink alcohol much now without really regretting it later, and KFC is off the table. I'm fine to live with that. My best friend has similar weight struggles, and was shocked when I said I'm not coming off it. We've jokingly been talking for years about how amazing it would be to pay a subscription to staying thin without trying, or have a pill that fixes all our issues with food, and I honestly feel like that's what I've been given. For £150 a month. I'd give up everything else to keep paying for this. I eat what I want now, and my appetite regulates by itself. I don't deny myself, because I don't need food the way I did before, the way an addict does. I don't want or need or crave, I'm just fine. I enjoy fruit and veg and they've become my default choice. Junk food holds no compulsive appeal, I happily share my food or throw away what I can't finish, and the rest just takes care of itself. What could coming off this medication possibly achieve but my awful old normal, that I am so happy to have escaped from? This comes with a heavy dose of judgment from people who think it's the easy way out. Everybody's experience is different, for me, it's been blissful. But I don't understand why it should be hard. If I was working hard for these results, what difference would that make to anyone? Why should anyone else care? I haven't expressed this fully to anyone, I don't think they would understand. I've tried to discuss with my husband, but he came back with, long-term medication isn't really a solution the way going to the gym is. Yeah, okay, great, except I've done that already and it wasn't the solution everybody kept promising it would be. It was just really fucking hard in a different way until I fell flat on my face again. He said I didn't need to justify myself to him, so I didn't. But I wanted to confess the truth of it all somewhere. Yes, I will take the easy way out. Life is hard enough. If I'm a failure, okay. I'm done pretending not to be. Stories number 47. AITA for making my ex-boyfriend's best friend cut him off. I, 26F, met my ex-boyfriend, 26M, Voldemort, on the app Boo last June. We started as friends, and a month later, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I accepted. It was a long-distance relationship, so we video called every other day. Eventually, I met his best friend, Lorenzo, 23M. Despite past drama between them, not my story to tell, Lorenzo joined some of our calls, and we got along well. 2 weeks after my birthday, everything fell apart. Voldemort started acting distant and ghosted me for a day. The next day, he messaged, "Are you able to call?" I said, "Sure, give me 20 minutes." When he called, his voice was off. Then came the dreaded, "We need to talk." Even after we started dating, Voldemort kept using Boo to meet gamers. That's how he met another girl, 19F, Lucifer. He told me about her early on, and I wasn't worried since I'm not the jealous type. On the call, however, he admitted she developed feelings for him and that her living nearby made a physical relationship more accessible. I was heartbroken. I reminded him he was doing exactly what someone had done to him in a past relationship, and leading on someone who clearly liked him while he was taken. To me, that's emotional cheating. He rambled about his dilemma for an hour, but I called BS and ended it. Afterward, I messaged Lorenzo to let him know we'd broken up and that it had been nice meeting him. He was surprised and said he thought Voldemort had finally been in a healthy relationship. He apologized on Voldemort's behalf and wished me the best. The first few days were awful, I cried nonstop and barely ate. Eventually, I messaged Lorenzo again to ask if Voldemort had moved on with Lucifer. Lorenzo kindly told me that 3 days after our breakup, Voldemort was already dating her. That sent me into rage mode. Lorenzo offered to call so I could vent, and afterward, he told me I could reach out anytime if I needed someone to talk to. Over the next 2 months, Lorenzo and I kept talking and became genuine friends. We bonded over shared interests and analyzed Voldemort's toxic behavior together. Lorenzo eventually decided to cut ties with him entirely after realizing Voldemort was repeating toxic patterns that would inevitably drag him into drama again. In December, we planned a confrontation. For me, it was closure. For Lorenzo, it was the final nail in the coffin of their friendship. The night of the call, we waited for an hour before he texted, "Sorry, I ended up *******ing Lucifer." When he finally called expecting only Lorenzo, he was shocked to hear my voice too. Together, we confronted him about his behavior, pursuing younger girls, streaming disturbing deep web content, and randomly bringing up sexual kinks unprovoked. After the call, we blocked him everywhere and never looked back. As of now, neither of us has heard from him or anyone in his circle. Lorenzo and I have remained very close friends. So am I the asshole? Stories number 48. AITA for telling my aunt she needs to control her baby. I, 16F, have a younger cousin, 8M. He is quite bratty to say the least. He's never heard the word no at home. Recently me and my family did a barbecue and the whole family was there. My mum, 36F, and my cousin were playing and my lil cousin had a hold on my mum's arm. While they were playing a loud ow came from the other side of the room. We all look and my mum is holding her arm. He had bitten her. My aunt, 37F, took my cousin away from my mum as my mum started to scold him for biting her. My aunt then proceeded to tell my mum to not scold him since he was just playing. I was livid and started to tell my aunt that if her child had heard no and been scolded every now and again we wouldn't be in this situation. Whenever my cousin is told no he cries and gets babied. My aunt got very angry and started to yell at me and so did her BF, my bio uncle, too. The whole house was split and in the end my mum and dad left early. My parents are on my side but think I shouldn't have done it in the way I did and now my aunt is demanding an apology. Am I the a-hole? For those who think 8M is 8 months no he's an 8-year-old male. Stories number 49. Since no one in my life seemed to care that I graduated college, I'll tell a bunch of strangers online. After 5 years, 2 kids, many jobs, many homes, and many breaks from school, I finally finished my associate's degree in business administration from my community college and will start university next year. It's always been a goal of mine to finish college since I am a first-generation high school graduate and now a first-generation college graduate. Smiley face. Nobody ever told me to go to college and when I say nobody I mean nobody. Not any teachers, relatives, friends, bosses, it's just something you don't really push on a poor kid to do since it's obvious you have to work. I never got support from anyone anytime I complained about school and how hard it was to balance everything. Either way I always pushed myself to continue and now that I hit this milestone, the reaction was underwhelming from everyone including my mom and wife but oh well I'm proud of me, smiley face, thanks for reading. Stories number 50. AITA for helping my 31M friend's wife while still having a girlfriend, 29F. Recently one of my good friends called me during work and asked if I could give his wife's car a jump since she was down the road from me and he was out of town. I said yes, but I'd have to wait an hour or so until I was free. I never told my girlfriend I was going to do this since I already knew I'd catch flack for it, but to me this is more of a favor for my friend than his wife since he called me to ask. My girlfriend had already been saying I'm too involved in my friends' relationships, getting too close to their girlfriends' wives, doing too many favors for others so I knew I'd be catching hell for it if I mentioned it. I did not act inappropriately with my friend's wife at all. Just talked mostly about the cause of her car dying and then had to re-jump her car 5 minutes later when it killed again after the first successful jump. Then I went home and back to work. Fast forward a month and my now fiancé, I proposed in between this time, sees the texts with his wife on my phone saying how I was agreeing to give her a jump. She immediately flipped out and said I'm too close with my friend's wife, doing inappropriate things. BC my friend wasn't there and it was just his wife and I there, and I look even more suspicious. BC I never told my fiancé about me going do the favor. Not really sure if that'd be considered inappropriate because I'm helping another man's wife. To me it's not at all. AITA for helping out my friend's wife while still in a relationship. TLDR, a month ago I gave my friend's wife a jump. BC her car died and he asked it as a favor. My fiancé claims it is inappropriate to do this. AITA. Stories number 51. AITA for telling my daughter to choose the less white bacon. My daughter was picking up bacon and eggs for me and called to ask which to choose between the 2 options. I said, whichever one is more meaty and less white. Because that's fat and that's gross. Yes, I know bacon is fatty no matter what. Since she's a teenager, this was on speakerphone, and this woman made a point to tell my daughter that she can choose whatever bacon she wants. My daughter was obviously confused and startled and said, "That's okay, this one looks good." The woman then said my daughter was too skinny and insinuated I was starving her. We're a healthy family, but we love our carbs fries, no one is starving over here. Should I have told my daughter to get the bacon she most likely wouldn't eat even if I cooked it for her? Stories number 52. AITA for continuing to curse whenever my religious dad says a slur. My 21, dad has always been religious, but he never raised us to be and so never forced his beliefs upon us. Recently, however, he's been getting really mad at me whenever I curse even though I've been doing it since forever. I also hear him doing it every now and then as well, so I'm really confused about the sudden switch up. A few weeks ago, my dad said a racial slur, and we got into a huge argument about it. I've explained to him so many times now why it's offensive and racist, but he continues to use that word. I then came up with a deal he agreed to: if he stops saying that word, I'll stop cursing. Yesterday, he used that word again and so I cursed again, after which he got insanely mad at me. I don't even think they're equally disrespectful. Him continuing to be willfully racist seems worse to me than me just cursing. I know this sounds childish of me, but I get upset when people try to force their ideas about religion on me. Now I'm wondering if I'm the asshole in this scenario and if I should just stop cursing to keep the peace. AITA for continuing to curse whenever my religious dad says a slur. Stories number 53. AIO for wanting my GF at my grad dinner even though she isn't graduating. My best friend and I just got into a ginormous fight because I want to bring my partner of over a year to our conjoint college grad dinner with my family, my BSF family, and her boyfriend's family. At first she said it was because we couldn't fit that many people at a restaurant, it would end up being 11 instead of 10, but after I justified that, she said it was because she's not a graduate. Even though we had just talked about inviting our roommate who is also not graduating. After pointing out that it seemed like she just didn't want my partner to be there, she just turned it around on me, acting like it was the most outrageous thing to want my girlfriend, future wifey, to be at my graduation dinner. She even said that I should be able to handle one dinner without your GF. I left our apartment. The argument was obviously stressing me out. When I came back I said I'll have my own grad dinner, but that doesn't mean my feeling changed toward the situation. She said me neither. Then 20 minutes later she says it's fine for her to come if I can find a place to fit us all. AIO. Stories number 54. Why do I get so emotionally weird around my partner? Female 30, male 34. So this is something I've been noticing and it's kinda weird and confusing. When my partner is close to me, I suddenly become really dramatic and almost helpless. Like I go quiet, I let him spoil me, I lean into this soft, dependent version of myself. It's not fake, it genuinely feels like that's just how I am around him. But then, here's the kicker, when we go to the gym together, I physically feel like I can't work out next to him. Like I get legit pain, I want to stop everything, I don't want to push myself at all. The second he walks away and I don't see him, boom, I can finish my workout no problem. It's like my body reacts to his presence in such a strange way. Anyone else experience this? Is this a nervous system thing? Attachment style? Just me being dramatic for real? Edit. Thank you so much everyone. Don't have time to see all replies at this moment going to work, but appreciate all the replies. Stories number 55. My 25F, BF, 30M, stated he would leave me if I was infertile. I love my boyfriend dearly, and I'm really conflicted after a recent conversation. We were talking about marriage and how we both hope to have a daughter one day. I have lupus and take strong immunosuppressants, which come with a very small risk of impacting fertility. I've talked to him about this before, and he's always been supportive of me staying on the meds to manage my health. During our conversation, I asked him what we would do if it turned out I couldn't have children. He told me he wants biological children, which I understand, but when I asked him directly if he would divorce me over infertility, he said, I wouldn't want to, but I would have to. I was shocked. I know several women who are married and infertile, and their partners are loving and supportive. To hear him say he would leave me over something out of my control felt incredibly cold and disappointing. I get that having biological kids is important to some people, but marriage is supposed to be for better or for worse. If the situation were reversed, and he had fertility issues, I wouldn't even consider leaving him. My friends think his mindset is unacceptable, but I'm curious to hear other perspectives. Is this an acceptable mindset for a partner to have? Stories number 56. Should I make my sister my MOH at the risk of her causing a scene? Background: I've, 25F, always known who my maid of honor would be, my best friend, 27F, who I've known my entire life. I also served as her maid of honor during her wedding. My sister and I have never been particularly close. She's 10 years older than me, has lived across the country for over a decade, and we didn't get along growing up. She has substance abuse and personality issues that have caused me to intentionally cut off communication with her in the past. However, we've been regularly speaking recently. She has a history of making disruptive scenes at large family events and during multiple birthdays of mine. At more casual events, she'll drink excessively, become oblivious to social cues, and dominate the room. If I address her behavior, she'll escalate the situation, so we usually let it happen, which is something I'm not comfortable worrying about on my wedding day. It's common for her to make things about herself, and now that my boyfriend and I are soon to be engaged, she's been making an effort to contact me more frequently than usual. Recently, she texted me, saying that since my obvious choice for maid of honor is married, she'd be my matron of honor and asked if I would make her my maid of honor. While this sounds wonderful, it stressed me out a lot, especially since I'm not even engaged yet. To which I replied that I'm not engaged yet and brushed it aside for now. I had always planned to include my sister as a bridesmaid in my wedding, even before she mentioned it. However, I was still hesitant because I didn't want to treat her like a mere accessory, just for looks, and have the rest of my wedding party feeling like they have to secretly monitor her to prevent her from behaving like she has in the past. She's single and a bit bitter about my marriage before hers, and I'm concerned she might try to sabotage my happiness or have hidden motives out of envy. I feel awful for even thinking that, but she's done a lot of things I've put past her. I feel like I'm stuck in a catch-22 situation. I also worry that having my sister as a bridesmaid behind my best friend, who has always treated me like a sister, might seem odd to others. My parents are divorced and neither of them has offered much guidance on how to handle this. My mom understands my concerns and agrees, while my dad simply dismisses it as a no-brainer, making me feel foolish for even considering not doing it. Summary: my sister, who struggles with alcohol addiction and personality disorders, wants to be my maid of honor because my best friend, who I served as maid of honor for, will now be my matron of honor since she's married. She's 10 years older and not very involved in my life, and she holds resentment that I'm getting married before her. I'm concerned that she might get drunk and cause a scene as the maid of honor. However, I believe it's the right thing to do since I'm soon to be engaged. She's always been intended to be a bridesmaid, but the maid of honor role seems too high profile for this situation. Edit: thank you all so much. The solution seems super straightforward. I see that sadly, if I were to eliminate family that makes it all about them, I'd have little to none of my direct family there, and for just one day I want normalcy, as unrealistic as that sounds. I guess I thought if I could manage to give her a role and make her feel special, she'd return the favor by handling herself and maybe even satisfy my parents, but I can never truly trust that and needed to hear it, so thank you again. I have the hard truth laid out and I really appreciate all the replies. I don't have a ton of people in my direct family that will think of what's best for me instead of the image of how things look to everyone else, and I think it started to skew the obvious answers to these kind of things. Stories number 57. I'm so tired of being immediately asked about my country's controversial history when I meet new people. I live in the USA but am from a European country with a very troubled history. Literally 90% of the time I meet a new person, they immediately ask me how I feel about it. I really don't want to talk about genocide and slavery on a daily basis, and especially don't want to be constantly associated with it. It's not just casual discussion about the history, it's asking me questions about how I personally feel about it and whether my family was involved, etc. So exhausted with this issue that I purposefully try to sound less foreign, but that doesn't work very well. And I feel like if I say, I don't really want to talk about that, then I leave that person potentially thinking I'm sympathetic to the political movement they are referring to. Any other foreigners in the US deal with this? Stories number 58. Trying Scanaro.io for some peace of mind was a total letdown. Okay, I've been kinda stressed lately, and I just need to vent about this. My daughter's 14, and she's always off hanging out with her friends. I love that she's got her own life going, but she's not great at letting me know where she is or when she's coming home. It leaves me wondering if everything's okay, so I thought I'd try something to feel a bit more at ease. I stumbled across this service and figured it might help. Their site made it sound so simple: put in a number, send a message, and you'd get a location. I was like, cool, this could save me some worry. They had a trial, so I signed up, thinking it'd be an easy win. Nope, not even close. Turns out, it only works if someone clicks a link they send. That's not happening. It'd defeat the whole point of keeping it low-key. I gave it a shot anyway, but nothing showed up. I emailed their support to ask what's up, and days later, still no answer. Then, out of nowhere, they hit me with a $50 charge. I didn't even sign up for that. Apparently, it auto-renews unless you figure out their glitchy cancellation process, which I couldn't because the site kept crashing. So now I'm out cash, still as clueless as before, and kicking myself for buying into it. I just wanted something simple to feel better, you know. Instead, I'm more annoyed than ever. Anyone else try a service like this and end up regretting it? How do you shake off that should-have known better feeling? Stories number 59. Whipta if I cut my mother off for not going to a funeral. So here's the mess, Reddit. I'm 32F and I have 2 half-siblings, a brother and a sister, from my dad's 74M previous relationship. They're about 15 years older than me. I never really knew them. I don't know the backstory between my dad and their mom, whether it ended badly, whether she's still around, what actually went down. All I know is that he's had little to no contact with her for decades, and only minimal contact with my half-siblings. I've never met them. Not once. My dad's side of the family has always been this vague, distant silhouette in my life. I'm the odd one out, way younger than any of the cousins, and never really made the effort to bridge that gap. For what it's worth, I'm not super close with my mom's side either, so it's not like I had a strong family foundation to begin with. My mom never really mingled with my dad's side of the family, either. The one time she stepped up was when his brother was dying of cancer, she helped out around then. But otherwise? Different worlds. Parallel tracks. No overlap. Now here's where the world cracked open. A few days ago, my dad called me. My half-brother, the one I never met, died suddenly in his sleep. 44, fit. Healthy. Didn't drink. Married. 2 kids. Just, gone. Out of nowhere. My dad broke down crying on the phone. And I could hear it, that real, guttural grief that doesn't have words, just sound. I live over 1,000 kilometers away, across Europe. I couldn't physically be there in that moment, so I did the next best thing, I called my mom and asked her to take care of him. I begged her not to let him drive. Especially not to the funeral. She said of course, she'd handle it. And the day of, I made sure, I even told her again, please don't let him go alone. She gave me the same reassurance. Fast forward to the day of the funeral. I didn't want to call and interrupt anything, so I just quietly checked their phone locations. We all share them voluntarily. For context, it's not sneaky, it's just a thing we do. My dad was already at the cemetery. My mom. At work, she let him drive. Alone. 200 kilometers. To his own son's funeral. Alone, she left him to do that. My 74-year-old father with poor health. I stared at the map like I was reading it wrong. But I wasn't. And my heart sank in a way I can't describe. Later, he called me. I asked, already knowing, was Mom there? He said no. That she had to work. I told him she should have gone with him. He said, quietly, yeah. She should have. And Reddit, I am just, shattered. I feel sick with regret. If I had known she was going to abandon him like that, I would have booked the first flight. I would have been there. I think everyone else assumed she would be by his side too, and maybe that's why no one else offered. Because who lets someone do that alone? I can't stop thinking about him driving 2 hours, grieving, numb, silent. Surviving his son's funeral. Driving back. Alone again. I cannot fathom doing that to someone you've spent decades of your life with. Even if their relationship isn't perfect, and it isn't, this was beyond heartless. Now I'm sitting here stewing in a cocktail of guilt, anger, and disbelief. And here's the part one need help with. Am I overreacting? Am I just projecting my own guilt for not flying out myself? Would I be the asshole if I cut her off for this? Because right now, I don't want to speak to her ever again. Not out of rage, not the kind that screams and throws things. It's colder than that. Like something in me shut off. Like I don't recognize her anymore. Anyway. Thanks for reading if you made it this far. I needed to get this out of my system. Edit. For people wondering why I didn't go myself, I had less 48 notice. My dad called me on Monday evening, the funeral was on Wednesday afternoon. Thursday morning my parents left to neighboring country for trip conference. I asked my mother to postpone it, my idea to go for the funeral and stay with them over the weekend, she refused. She said it's going to be good for him to also visit his cousin who lives at the place of the conference. Stories number 60. AITA for ending a long-time friendship that I knew wasn't good for me anymore. Advice needed. I feel like I'm still processing everything, but I can't keep this inside anymore. I ended a long-term friendship recently, and it's breaking me. I've been fighting with myself over it for so long, trying to find any reason to stay, any way to fix things, but I just couldn't anymore. We were really close for years. They were like family to me. But over time, things changed. I started to feel like I was putting in all the effort to keep the friendship alive, but they weren't meeting me halfway. They were selfish, always making things about themselves, always distracted, and honestly, it hurt. What really broke me was when they started using people's vulnerabilities against them during arguments. It wasn't just a one-time thing either. I saw them do it to a close friend, using her personal struggles like ammo in a fight. And I thought, if they can do that to her, what's stopping them from doing it to me? It made me realize that I couldn't trust them anymore, and that trust is something I don't just give away. When I finally told them how I felt, it wasn't easy. I told them it wasn't just one thing, it was a pattern. I had to let them go for my own peace, for my own growth. I couldn't keep letting someone drag me down when they didn't even care about changing. They told me it was clear the friendship never meant anything to me, which hit me like a punch to the gut. Because if it didn't mean anything, I would have walked away a long time ago. But I stayed, hoping things would get better. I loved them like a sibling, and that's what makes this so painful. Their parent had also reached out, apologizing for their behavior, saying they knew their kid had issues with anger and saying it runs in the family. It was like hearing, this isn't just a one-time mistake, it's a pattern that's deep-rooted. And that just hit even harder, so, I let them go. I had to. And I hate myself for it. I wish things had worked out. But I can't keep holding on to something that's only hurting me. I can't keep putting myself second. Ada, if anyone else has been in a similar situation, where you had to let go of someone you truly cared about, how did you move on? How do you stop thinking about all the good times and wondering if you made the right choice? Because right now, I'm struggling with it all. Thanks for listening. Stories number 61. I can't do this, it's been 11 years. Caring for mom with advanced MS that whole time. The last year my dad has gotten ill, bad COPD, but continuing to smoke. He refuses to see any doctors or follow-up. I suspect he has some form of cognitive issue or other problems. His mobility and speech have deteriorated badly, his sleep is bad, he goes to bed at 6 p.m. and is up at 2 a.m. The past week he has also gotten up at 8 p.m. thinking it was the morning and at 11:30 p.m. Swallowing issues too and won't eat, he looks skeletal. Managed to get blood urine tests done last summer when it all started quite suddenly but all turned up normal aside from slight anemia. Gets confused over complicated things and no memory loss or trouble with finances but something is still off. He used to be very sharp but has become slow. I used to have carers come in to do personal care for my mom, stopped when COVID began and don't feel comfortable having them back as they switch so much now in terms of different people coming in. They don't offer anything except doing personal care anyway and personal care is the thing that is the least stress. She is bed-bound and completely dependent and cannot feed, dress or even move herself. Cannot talk but can communicate but with limited understanding. She is not on any medication and is overall healthy and content. Me and my dad used to share caring for my mom. He slowly became unable to do much and since last summer I have been looking after them both entirely in terms of cooking, cleaning, medication for my dad etc. My brother comes in the morning to make my dad tea and toast, but no other help apart from that and he wouldn't do more. If my dad continues to get worse I know I will not be able to do it and look after him. I turn 37 in 2 weeks' time and have nothing to show for it. I live with them, I haven't been able to work since 2015, friends all dropped away, I go weeks without talking to anyone other than my dad who I am not able to talk with much anymore due to his suspected aphasia. We used to watch Poirot and documentaries together and now he will just watch the same show while listening to the radio on his tablet constantly. I miss my dad and how he was. It was easier when we were both in the same boat, now he is slowly joining my mom. Since 2020 I have left the house a total of 5 times for dentist appointments, something that has left me badly in debt as even though I'd be entitled to free dental care I cannot get it as there are no NHS dentists available forcing me to go private. My own health worries are pushed down. I have bad agoraphobia and anxiety. I regularly break down in tears. I get frustrated over everything. I don't see a way out. All the while having to watch both of my parents disappear in front of my eyes with no way to stop or slow it. I am studying at the Open University but it will be a few years before I complete my degree. I apply for remote work but get nowhere. I am only here because I have no other options. I need to leave but have no chance of having a home or place to live without a job and I cannot get one while I am caring like this and needing to be around every 2 hours. I'm in Northern Ireland and services here are basically non-existent. How do I stop caring and have a life? Is it even possible or am I stuck here until one or both of them pass away? When I talk to people they just say to get the carers back, minimal help with more stress, get respite care. My dad would never agree to go anywhere, my mom being gone would likely make him worse and I've seen the deterioration from respite that can happen with my aunts who also had MS. I just want a life. I've never been on holiday, not been to a hairdresser's or to a restaurant since I was a child, no relationships, no travel, no driving license, nothing. Stories number 62. Need help advice, marriage. Have been with my wife for 12 years and married for 9 of those. In 2020 we had some issues because I was texting with a female colleague that never materialized into anything and TBH from my side never would have but my wife saw this as cheating and we split for a few weeks. To make things right and get back together, her suggestion to me was that I cut contact with this colleague completely and not talk to her again. As we have 3 young children and I love my wife I agreed but in the years since she has had serious trust issues with me. To try allay her worries I don't go out with friends, I work from home, I don't go on trips and I generally don't talk to females alone to avoid any issues. Fast forward to last winter and my wife, who doesn't have many friends or any family finally met a friend, female, who she became very close with very quickly. They started to spend all their days and nights together and would go on long trips out and walks etc. In December I caught them 3 times kissing each other, and after confronting my wife about it she swore she would never do it again but refused to cut contact with her. Anyway, the next few months were rough and she continued to spend so much time with her and text her constantly. Now the friend's marriage is pretty much over and ours is on the rocks. I told my wife I would be willing to forget everything and move on together for our own sake and them kids, but the friend has to go. She told me that she doesn't have many close people in her life and she's not cutting the friend, and if that means we split up, so be it. What do I do? I was robbed of $70, now I have to pay $50. I live in a very impoverished area. For prom my school allowed youths to fundraise to help pay for our tickets. My ticket cost $70, so I just paid the full amount myself. However, we recently got a new sponsor, and she's no longer accepting the money that was fundraised. Now, she's requiring everyone to pay $50 out of pocket. This means that if someone fundraised for their ticket, that money isn't being accepted anymore. People have been asking for refunds, but the school isn't giving the money back. I don't know what to do. Who should I talk to about this? Edit: our new sponsor wants to control everything. She changed the prom theme even after the entire senior class voted in favor of the original theme, not hers. And now she's doing this with the tickets. I have a meeting with her tomorrow. Update 1: they are aware of the people who fundraised and have a spreadsheet of paper, but the issue is that prom tickets are now being sold for $50, whereas the fundraiser required raising $70. They're not going to reimburse the $20 difference. I spoke with the sponsor, and she said she's not accepting the previous fundraiser money because she's a new sponsor and isn't in charge of who received the funds. My final update will be on Friday, and no, I haven't received a waiver for a free prom ticket nor my money back. AITA for wanting to back out of doing my SIL in favor cause I don't like that she installed cameras to be on the safe side. My wife used to get our niece ready and take her to daycare every Friday since she was off and her sister had to be at work by 6:30 and daycare did not open until 7. My wife's work schedule changed and she could no longer do it. So I offered to change my schedule around to start work at 10. We have been doing this for around 4 months. My SIL has voiced no concerns and when she calls I always answer. We recently found out she installed cameras in her house. When my wife brought it up she told her you never know. I will be honest, I was taken aback cause she has had no complaints in the past, but now she wants to have cameras because you never know. My wife did ask her sister have I done anything that made her concerned or worried. She told no, but it was a safety issue. Once again she told my wife you never know. At this point I told my wife I don't want to go into her house. I don't feel comfortable being in a home or around her daughter if she is that concerned. My wife agrees it is weird also considering I have known her sister for over 16 years. Others think I am blowing out of proportion, but I don't like how she assumes the worst of me cause I am male. She told my wife she had no concerns when she was doing it. HOA should not exist and it's the dumbest thing ever. I got a fucking letter because I'm apparently putting out my trash wrong. What the fuck? I'm putting them in the bins like everyone else. I leave them in the backyard for easy access, and nearly all my neighbors do that too, and all of them have been living here before me. You freaking dumb, stupid, useless organization full of brainless monkeys with a superiority complex. And the fact that I need their approval to build a fucking fence on my own property. How the fuck am I putting out my trash wrong? I leave the bins on the side and take them back once they're empty. Edit: I did not expect this to get so many upvotes. Anyway, I just recently moved into my home here and this is my first time actually getting a warning from HOA. And TBH, I was really angry when I made this post for different reasons. When I saw the letter I got more mad and decided to post it on Reddit to cope. I knew this was a HOA neighborhood moving in, and also knew I was going to be able to take care of my home, lawn, other things very well. Some guy in the comments told me to move, might have not been serious. I just found the garbage bin violation thing stupid. Anyway, I got it sorted out. I didn't mean everything in the post because anger clouded my judgment. I am not being held gunpoint by the HOA. AITA. My husband woke me up in the middle of the night for a dream. My husband is a bit of a drama queen. He is needy when he gets sick, very in touch with his feelings, communicative. I love him, but sometimes he's a bit much. Last week I got COVID. I was in bed for 4 days and he slept in the spare room so that he minimized exposure. Last night he slept in bed with me for the second night back. At 1 a.m. he rolls out of bed onto the floor moaning loudly. I thought he was having a heart attack. He gets up and walks into the bathroom and then falls to the floor. I was up now and trying to figure out what to do because all he was doing was moaning. He finally says pour water over him, so I get a cup and pour water over him. I felt him, he was pretty hot. So I figured he got COVID. Then he tells me to put on the shower for him. So I did. He's still laying on the floor not talking. He gets in the shower and then stays for a while. He sat in the shower. He finally gets in bed and I was prepared to get him some medicine to bring down the fever, and then he tells me he had a bad dream. This whole drama was all because of a freaking bad dream. Not COVID. Not a heart attack. A bad dream where he was being stabbed repeatedly. To top it all off, he fell right back to sleep and I was up for 2 hours trying to get back to sleep. Needless to say, I woke up pissed. He felt I wasn't being sensitive to his needs. I've never had a bad dream like that, so maybe I was, but at the same time, who does that? Wakes their spouse up in a panic, not communicating, and then complete disregard for their sleeping spouse, just hops back into bed like it was no big deal and then gets his feelings hurt because I'm tired and irritated. A little backstory: my dad is a narcissist and frequently did things like this to my mom and us. He would lay down in the middle of the hallway when he was sick and make us walk over him while he moaned in agony. He would throw temper tantrums because he wasn't the center of attention, or he would have angry outbursts and throw things. I had a little PTSD flashback because of what my husband did last night. I'm an officially diagnosed person with PTSD caused during my childhood by my father. And have participated in EMDR therapy. I also take prescription medicine and melatonin to go to sleep and stay asleep. So sleep is an important commodity in my world. We've been together for 3 years and married for 2. This is not our first marriage. We are in our 50s and have grown children. None of my other relationships had random nightmare drama. So, AITA update: after posting this and getting feedback, I let him know about my past experiences with my dad, the fact that I was genuinely debating calling 911, and asked him if he'd done this before. He also knows my sleep troubles, so we talked a little about that. He and I really do have a great relationship. I love him. I just didn't know how to respond to this because it's never happened to me before and I was super tired this morning. I even took a nap today, which my doctor says I shouldn't to keep my sleep regular. I found out that this has happened before about 2 years ago, before we started living together. He says it happens when he's stressed. He and I don't share finances except for home expenses, and he's a freelancer. He's stressing about taxes. I did tell him that we need to see a doctor if this gets any worse, just to check if there's anything we can do to alleviate this in the future for him, and he needs to talk to me about what's stressing him. Update: I'm gonna ask the woman at the store next door out on Monday and I'm nervous. Positive. I posted here to shake off my nerves about asking someone out that works next door to where I work. Yesterday I planned on asking her out to coffee. Got busy and it slipped my mind though. Luckily she stopped by to talk anyway. I was loading up the company van yesterday for today's tickets when she came over to chat while I worked. Mostly small talk while I loaded boxes and did my paperwork. She was on her way to her car to head home when she stopped by, so before she left I asked if she'd be interested in grabbing coffee sometime, and she countered with an offer to go try out the ice cream place down the road when I was done for the day. She came back when my shift was over and we met for milkshakes and sat around talking for a good while. I was nervous at first, but she's remarkably easy to talk to. We talked about our families, hobbies, jobs, and had a rather passionate debate on the best trails to walk in the area. So I proposed an outing this weekend to get our steps in and figure out who is right. Numbers have been shared, and even though she's off today and I don't get to see her, we've been texting a bit. Pretty boring update I'm sure, but that's it. Women's church retreat. Had a sold-out women's church retreat. Enough said, right? Ironically enough, these ladies have made my weekend a living hell. They all had an issue with their agreed-upon room block price, none understood what a incidental is, and all wanting river views that only our suites have. Cheap as hell. 4 to 6 people in our queen rooms that only allow 4. 4 to 6 people in our king's bed that only sleep 2. We have no roll-out beds, and for some reason no one wanted to call us back, but all expected them. Keep coming up to me demanding a new key. Okay, can I get a name or room number at the least? One older lady straight screamed no to me and cried to my manger so they'd give her literally $10 off of her room. I was so dumbfounded I didn't even know what to say to her because how fucking old are you? Anyways, next one to complain is shit out of luck because they all had to switch already. AITA for telling my best friend's mom the reason behind why he ended up in the hospital. This happened 2 to 3 years ago, but it still haunts me. I, F25, had a best friend, M26, who attempted to end everything. It shocked everyone, we never saw it coming. He used to be my closest friend until he stopped talking to me after what happened. He had always struggled with his sexual orientation. I knew he had doubts and insecurities about whether he was gay or bi, and I always supported him. Eventually, he came out to his parents and told them he thought he might be gay or bisexual. Sadly, they turned out to be extremely homophobic, his mom especially. He told me he didn't care too much because he had plans to leave home after graduation, and that was just a year away. But toward the end of that year, he attempted to end his life by overdosing. Thankfully, his mom found him in time and rushed him to the hospital. The day after, his mom called me. She said she needed to talk. I met her after my university classes. She told me what had happened and asked me if I had any idea why he would do such a thing. I hesitated, but I ended up telling her what I knew, that even though he said he didn't care, it was obvious that the lack of support and the homophobia at home were affecting him deeply. We had a long talk about his mental health, and she thanked me for being honest. After that, I was the only friend allowed to visit him at the hospital. I kept checking in on him, and I was even the only person who would visit him at home afterward. But once he recovered, he completely cut me off. He was angry because I had told his mom something he'd shared with me in confidence. I get it, I really do. But at the same time, I felt I couldn't lie to her in such a serious situation. I truly thought it could help him get the support he needed. To this day, I don't know if I did the right thing. Was I the asshole? AITA for removing all phone tracking from my parents who keep using it to see my location for non-emergencies. Here's the situation. I, 24F, am married and live in a different state than my parents. I've had iPhones, Find My Friends, app since I had a phone at 12 years old that my parents set up. When I got married, my husband found it strange that my parents could see my location once we moved out, but I just figured they would want it on for safety. Come 2 years later, my brother, 21, who still lives with my parents, gives me a heads up that my parents were judging my actions based on my location. I figured it would be a good time to remove that app anyways and thus, deleted their ability to see my location. This blew up into a whole situation where my parents are now saying that it was providing them comfort and safety to know where I was and it was just a mishap and bad day for them. Additionally, my dad decided to retaliate and remove my access from all streaming services he paid for and threatened to remove my brother from the Wi-Fi for tattling as well. AITA for removing them from seeing my location. My husband has never heard of parents seeing their kids' location once they've moved out, but my parents seem to think it's the end of the world. Just wanted to get other people's thoughts. Thanks. Edit. Thank you all for the advice and thoughts. I originally posted as I've heard of other families sharing location as adults, so I felt like the odd one out for not wanting this. However, you guys have helped me realize this is not normal. Additionally, I want to make mention that I am completely fine paying for my own streaming services, and already pay for the ones that don't allow sharing on my own. This is the only thing my parents have been providing financially. I brought it up as a point of their reaction to help provide context of the situation. Ada for telling my best friend she can't do her adult content at my house. My best friend was recently kicked out of where she was living and asked if she could stay with me in this emergency situation as she had nowhere else to go right now. I instantly said yes. We moved all her furniture and bigger things into a storage unit, and she brought a few suitcases to my place. I'll be honest, at the time, I really wasn't thinking about her work situation. I knew her job was that's what she did for a living, that's how she made her money, and I've never judged her for it. However, the following day after the evening she moved in, I took my daughter to school and came home to do my own work. I work from home. She wandered into my kitchen at like 12 p.m. and told me she had some videos she needed to make. I instantly knew what she meant by that, and I said, well, I mean, are you going to be quiet during these videos? She laughed and said, no, but you're my best friend so I don't mind if you hear me, to which I responded with, I mind if I hear you. I'm not gonna lie, I don't feel comfortable you making those videos in my house. You can take your pics and stuff though, granted you don't do it while my daughter is home. She got a little snippy and upset with me and told me that making custom request videos was how she made the majority of her money, and she had a bunch of requests that she needed to do. I told her again that I don't feel comfortable with that specifically. She told me to wear headphones. I said, I do wear headphones because I have pretty much constant work calls through my day, and I can't have you moaning and screaming in the background. I ended up saying, if you can be quiet, then you can while I'm here working, and again, as long as you're not doing it when my daughter is home. She told me she won't be able to be quiet, because that's not what her clients, want. So I told her, I'm sorry, girl, no. I can't have that. She's now a little pissed off at me, because I'm basically stopping her from making decent coin while she'll be staying with me until she finds a new place, and that she has nowhere else to go to do it. I feel bad, but I think my feelings and reasons are justified. Edit. Just to answer the majority who have mentioned hotel room, I answered a few. She claims a hotel would kick her out, and that she really didn't think I would care about her doing it here as long as she didn't do it when my child is here. I genuinely thought because she does make decent money from it and had money in the bank, she just wouldn't do it in the short-term time that she'll be here at my place. She is actively looking for a new place to rent, she's not going to be here long-term. It was just an emergency situation, and she knew I had a spare room in my house she could stay in, so I said yes because she's a very good, close friend of mine. I'd like to point out, that outside of her of content, she dresses modestly and doesn't act like a whore. So I don't mind her being around my child. She's known my daughter since I had my daughter 7 years ago. My daughter is not exposed to anything inappropriate around her. Just wanted to mention that. Another point to mention, this isn't a case of her bringing people here to fuck them. She's just making videos for them, but those videos include a variety of things where she will obviously not be quiet. And I just don't want to have to hear it tbh, especially not while I'm on work calls. Also, the reason she was kicked out of her last place was actually nothing to do with her sex work, but it's also not relevant to my post, so I won't be discussing it here. If men could stop sliding into my DMs asking for her link, that would be great. LMAO. I don't know her fucking link, I'm her friend, not a subscriber. Update. She finally listened and has booked a hotel room for the night. Just so she can go and get these requests that she has built up done. She's let her subs and clients know that's not going to be taking requests until she's settled in a new place. She's also just told me that she thinks she found a new place to rent. And she's now starting the process of that. Problem solved. Thinking of the past makes me incredibly sad. I am only 58, but I am going through something and I don't know what to do. I lost my dad 13 years ago and I never thought I'd get over it, but I am doing okay. Now my mother is 91 and having health problems, and it is getting real that I will lose her too. I remember being maybe 8 or 9 years old, petrified of the thought of losing my parents, and now here it is already. How did the time go so fast? Then I think of all the years in my past and the fun I had and all the things that happened, and I can't believe how fast the time went, and it makes me really sad. I'm sad for my parents because it went fast for them too. Soon we will all be gone. I can't stop thinking about all this. It is so hard to go to work every day with these thoughts. Work just seems so stupid and pointless. Who cares? Does anyone know what I mean? Edit. Thanks everyone for all your responses. This kind of thing is really tough, isn't it? Glad to know there are people who know what I mean. Hugs to all of you. AITA for telling my sister I'd rather go to a con than her wedding. Hello fellow Redditors. I, 27F, have 2 sisters, an older one, 30, and a younger one, 24. Last one, let's call her Emma, has always been the golden child and is still used to getting everything her way. We have never been particularly close, maybe because of that or maybe because we are just totally different personalities. My older sister and her on the other hand have always been super close up until last year, when Emma started some pretty nasty rumors about my older sister's husband, which lead to them going no contact with Emma and our mother, who was defending her with the typical, sisters sometimes just tease each other and you know how Emma will say things she doesn't mean. I didn't get myself involved in this as much as I could, so I'm still good with my older sister. Emma and I are basically having some small talk only when I'm visiting my mom. They live in the same house. Since Emma is pregnant, she wants to get married before her son is being born in June. It was almost certain that my older sister would be her maid of honor when she would marry someday, but obviously that was no option anymore. So when I went to their house for a visit a month ago, she casually mentioned that she won't have my older sister as her maid of honor, which means that I will do it. She didn't ask me, she just assumed that I'd be hyped to do that. I'm more introverted and not really one for discussions, so I didn't say anything and just nodded. I felt like shit tbh because I just seemed to be good enough for her since there weren't any alternatives. I asked when her wedding would be because her son will be born in June and there won't be a lot of time left for a wedding to happen. She just shrugged and said she didn't know, but that they will just marry legally first and have the big wedding next year. Last week Emma texted me and asked if I had anything planned on April 27th. I actually do, and she was well aware of that since I was telling her and my mom several times that this was the only day I couldn't make time for her. I have a ticket for a convention which is out of state. Everything is booked. I'm going with a group of friends and even my sister and niece are coming who also live about 5h away from us. We made cosplays as group over the last year and I have been looking forward to it so much. I'm 100% sure Emma had to know, because I mentioned it so often, but then she texted me that the first wedding will be on that day. This is where I don't know if I'm the asshole or over-exaggerating. She texted me that she expects me to be there and that some childish meetup can't be more important than my sister's wedding. I then called her and told her that this is quite important to me and that I can't cancel it without having to pay cancellation fees and disappointing a bunch of people. She then said that a wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event, mind you the main wedding will be next year and this is more or less a celebration for close family, and that I am her maid of honor after all. I got angry at that point and told her that I never signed up for that, she never asked me if I actually wanted to do that, and that I'd rather go to this convention with people who appreciate me for me than her wedding, where I will be just good enough to keep up the image of a happy family. I hung up after that. My mom has since tried to mediate, said that it was a huge misunderstanding and Emma wanted me as her maid of honor all along but didn't know how to ask me properly. She offered to pay for cancellations just for me to be there for my sister's big day. Emma is angry, said that what I'm doing is betrayal and that she got upset so much because of me that she had to go to the hospital due to pain and fear of something being wrong with the baby. I haven't told my older sister, just my best friend who is also going to the convention. She feels like Emma picked this date on purpose and that the hospital visit was just for making me feel bad and giving in. She also said that I should go no contact with Emma and maybe even mom for now. We have been looking into rebooking, but beside the cost I honestly don't want to rebook anything and don't feel like going anywhere close to that wedding. But I'm also afraid that I'm the one over-exaggerating and that the con shouldn't be more important than my sister's wedding and that I might have endangered my unborn nephew with upsetting Emma. So am I the asshole here or is it reasonable to not go to the wedding at all and going no contact with Emma at least? Any advice on how to handle this situation? AITA, if I break up with my BF after getting an abortion, I, 20F, am pregnant with my BF, 21M. We've been together 8 months and we are both in college. Please spare me the judgment about not being more careful about birth control because believe me, there's nothing you could say to me that I haven't already said to myself. I'm an idiot. I forget to take my pill all the time, and now I'm facing the consequences. I've accepted that. I want to keep the baby but I do not want to do this alone. My BF doesn't want to be involved. So logically, we'd have to break up if I were to have the baby. He says that if women can choose to terminate a pregnancy, men should be able to choose to give up their involvement as a father as long as this is communicated to the mother ASAP. He says he wants me to be able to make an informed decision based on all factors as it is my choice at the end of the day. We had a very open, honest, and respectful conversation. He says he loves me and hates the thought of losing me, but he doesn't want to be a dad for a very long time. He has lots of plans and goals for after college and he is not willing to compromise them. Truthfully, I don't want to be a single mom. I watched my own mom struggle and it was hard. I will not have this kid and force my BF to be involved because that only brings a lifetime of stress and heartache for both myself and my child. He was straight with me about his feelings on this situation, and I respect that. My appointment is for next week. Whenever I think about it, I realize that I already feel resentment for my BF. I think we need to break up even if I am getting the abortion. I told him this, not because I wanted to give him an ultimatum, but because I genuinely feel that I will never be able to look at him the same. I'll always think, what if, when I look at him? I wish I could simply turn off these feelings, but I can't. On one hand, I want this baby but on the other hand, I am sick to my stomach about the thought of doing it alone. I think the best thing for both of us is for me to terminate and move on from him. He says this is a manipulation tactic. He thinks I'm doing this just so he'll cave and support this baby. This isn't true. I have already decided that I'm getting the abortion regardless because even if he were to change his mind now, I know he'd only be doing it out of guilt. At the end of the day, our relationship is over. It sucks. It makes me really sad. I'm heartbroken. I love him. But this is a major life event, and we are no longer compatible. So, AITA, if I break up with him, 5 medium-sized apples rang up at $17. I'm struggling to see the light at the end of this tunnel. I went to go buy apples yesterday for my breakfasts and I just got 5 to last me a few days. Not organic or fancy flavor or anything. I guess I hadn't paid attention to the sign, because when I went to go ring them up, the total was $17 and change. I was shocked. I had to call over the cashier at self-checkout and have them remove it. They freaked out too. They had no idea it had gotten that expensive that quickly, and I'm struggling because of it. I can't afford basic necessities. I'm eating oatmeal and beans every day, with some cheap snacks like crackers with cheese, but what the hell am we supposed to do? I have no idea what I can do to make this easier. I'm an adult well into my 20s having to live with my parents, with no ability to move out in the near future because all my money is going toward bills, groceries, rent. I'm basically breaking even each month. I'm just depressed about it all. I know I'm not the only one, but it doesn't make it any easier to deal with. Edit, the store was Safeway, I'm in California. The bag was pre-packaged but in a tote rather than a bag you have to cut open. It is not a store I shop at regularly. Edit 2, I've decided to believe that this was most likely a pricing error, based on everyone else's answers. It seems like the most logical, hopefully, non-intentional answer as to why they were so absurdly expensive. The complaint about not being able to afford life still stands, but it won't be caused by my future experiences with apples, that's for sure.